Look at that, David. It's pretty impressive. See?
The graphic.
Yeah. See that? Look at that. We're live and everything. It says on air. It's got our logo on it.
We're 15 seconds in.
Look at that. Boy, oh boy. I'm telling you. You don't pay for this. You feel like you probably should. You know what I mean? Guess that.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
I drove, which made me happier. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
And Moulton.
Look at you. I'm the man of the house.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We're streaming once again, millerandmoulton.com. We're broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube, twitch.tv channels, and simulcast once again on the Landry Football Network, and proud to be doing so. 239-479-5551 is how you can chime into the show. 479-5551 on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How the heck are you?
I'm good. I woke up very confused. The Bruins, I went to bed a little early, and the Bruins scored a lot of goals in the third period.
They
did. I had a 2-2 series when I woke up, and it looks like the Bruins, minus a Tuukka Rask, have gotten their act together. Maybe Tuukka Rask leaving and not telling anybody has really galvanized the Boston franchise, because they did not look great in game one. They have improved every single game. And that, to me, I know, we got a lot more than hockey to talk about, but I think that had to be, if that were another sport, it would be such a big story.
Mark, it was Rudy Tomjanovich in 1995 when the Houston Rockets, who were down 3-1 in the second round against the Phoenix Suns and had to win games 5 and 7 on the road. And remember, this is a Phoenix team who just 2 years earlier lost an excellent 6-game series to Michael and the Bulls. Barkley, Kevin Johnson, Dan Marley. I mean, this was an excellent Phoenix team in 95. I mean, it looked as if they're going to get by Houston, and maybe this is going to, because, Michael just came back, and they're getting knocked out by Orlando, and Phoenix is thinking, hey, we're finally going to win our first NBA title here. And the Houston Rockets came back and won that series, winning games 5 and 7 on the road, beat San Antonio, swept Orlando in the finals. And when it was over, Rudy Tomjanovich was being, live there at center court in the Houston arena, and grabbed the microphone and said, never underestimate the heart of a champion. Ever. 25 years ago. And I have thought about that, because the two teams in hockey, and we love our hockey, the two of us, but it was the Bruins and the Blues who played in the finals last year, and it was the Bruins and the Blues who had been the best teams in their respective conferences throughout the regular season before it was stopped. And they both came back after the 5-month layoff and looked lousy.
Awful.
Lousy. Both of them went winless, in fact, in the preliminary round, and did not look good. The Blues fall down 2-0 to the Vancouver Canucks, who, quite frankly, shouldn't be in the St. Louis Blues area code right now. They're a young, up-and-coming team, but not now.
Outplayed them in the first 2 games as well.
Oh, yeah.
Vancouver
deserved to be up 2-0.
Right, where Boston played with Carolina, but it was equal.
But And then Boston with the series at 1-1 has their goalie. And, their backup goalie's good. He's not their starter.
But Tuukka Rask took him to the final last year.
Yes.
And I mean, I need – look, it's 2020. I certainly hope that there's nothing dramatically wrong. He said he had family problems.
Right.
If I were to guess, he had a wife that told him to get his ass home and take care of the 3 kids that she had.
Maybe.
That's my guess. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last. But he didn't, give the Bruins a ton of credit. And why I made this bigger, because of the circus, skip the hockey part. We are all in 2020. We all know what's going on. We all know that people are leaving. And Seth Everett on our show, David, 6-8 weeks ago, when we started talking about opting out, he says, I don't care. I don't want to know why.
Right.
Just opt out. And I'm like,
tell me.
What are you talking about? And I never thought about it up until Rask, and why I guess I've thrown a little bit at him is 2 days prior, I'm watching the game, and they talk about Rask saying that it feels like an exhibition game. He just can't get into it. He's having trouble getting into it.
Right. They lost. And he went, well, we'll do the best.
No crowd. This feels like an exhibition game.
Right.
And then 2 days later, he leaves. Now, I don't know if it's that I want to know more or that I don't want to know anything. But having had heard that, and then he leaves, and then I find out he didn't tell his coach. He didn't tell Cassidy, the coach. He went and told the GM and may have called the GM. And the GM then had to let the coach know. So if he didn't tell the coach, how many players did he tell? And when you're getting interviewed in between periods, they're asking every Bruin these live interviews during the intermissions. How you doing? Hey, we're a team. We stand by one another. They're all giving the standard hockey line. I mean, this is interviewing 101. Without an organization or a definitely in there, they are hitting all of the checkmarks of the hockey interview.
We have to find out, Kevin Costner and Bull Durham exposed the baseball cliche interview. And we have to, does it go back to Slapshot? I'm trying to remember. There was not really a scene.
It's still Bull Durham a lot. And I don't know.
Exposing, putting a jersey on one pant leg at a time. And I'm just, happy to be here and, anything to help the team win and throw in a God reference at the end, and by the grace of God.
I was going to have. We had a player when I did the roller hockey for a year. Rob Palante was on our team. And Rob was a really funny guy. And if I needed an interview when we were hungover, because no one gave 2 blanks about roller hockey. So getting interviews before the game, these guys said, I don't want to talk to you. We were out till 4 a.m. And Palante was my guy. Come on, man. And he made sure he would throw in at least 2 cliches every interview because he tried to get me to laugh. And the God willing would come out all the time.
Nice.
So these players are doing that. I'm kind of channeling my Kevin Costner, my Rob Palante, and I'm wondering because they are just, we're a team and, we support all of our guys. And I think behind closed doors that they are ripping him. I truly do. I would love to have some connection to a Bruin player to find out what's really being said. But the other side of this is, Montreal did it for a game. Claude Julien, their coach, had to go home with heart problems, had heart surgery, had to have a stent put in.
Right.
And they come out in the first game with their coach gone and play like the Canadians from 1975. I mean, I thought Lafleur and Savard were running around out there because they didn't just beat Philly.
Right.
They whooped them.
It looked like the 76 finals out there between the Canadians and the Flyers in game 2. It really did.
But the Flyers are the better team. And by the next game, they steadied the ship, played a hard game, and won.
But back to the Bruins.
But the Bruins now, with Rask leaving, I think it galvanized the team. They were already playing good. They'd kind of found
they were right. They were building in the Carolina series, and this just made them realize, well, we need to be on top of our game, or else these guys, we're going to be home in a week.
Yeah, we're going to be with Rask.
And so Boston and St. Louis both, one the Blues technically the champions because they won Game 7, but this Boston core has had a great decade run here where they've gone to 3 finals and they've won it once, and they know how to win. And, and at their core, they've got 3-4 guys there who are champions. And it's been fascinating to watch the 2 best teams who were lost a week ago. And now they have found it when they were pushed up against it. And so if you're a sports fan, you can relate. Whether you care about hockey or you care about these 2 teams at all, you can relate. And every time this happens, Mark, I think of Rudy Tomjanovich standing there and, probably being interviewed by Jim Gray, at midcourt because it was 95 and, the NBA was on NBC and trying to think who's doing it. Or no, probably Ahmad. It was probably Ahmad. All right, holding the microphone, in which Rudy Tomjanovich said, never, ever underestimate the heart of a champion. And we are seeing it on ice. And the NBA playoffs got underway yesterday.
My Nugs was pretty good, David.
And they caught a break. It's funny, best player on the floor. Sports can be so humbling. Sports can be so humbling. You can be the best player on the floor and yet commit the screw up, which allows the other team to force overtime and you end up losing despite scoring 57 points. Utah's in control of that game in the final 2 minutes, and Donovan Mitchell commits an 8-second violation. Just lost track of time, didn't get the ball across midcourt, costly turnover. Denver gets the ball, hits a 3, and close them to within a score. They're able to force overtime, and despite the 2 best players, Mark, in the NBA playoffs yesterday, both lost. Donovan Mitchell and Luka Doncic. Combined, they scored 99 points. And their teams lost.
Right.
Although, nothing like first day of the NBA playoffs to get the officiating controversies going, because they threw Porzingis out of that game early third quarter with Dallas winning. Porzingis gets thrown out, and he gets thrown out. First off, he gets a technical in the first quarter for arguing a call. And then it's early third quarter, and Doncic commits a turnover. All right, the Clippers want to get the ball and inbound it quickly and go. And Doncic's kind of holding on to the ball and looking at the official and this, that, and the other thing. And so one of the Clippers players goes to grab the ball out of his hand, and he pushes Doncic. Well, Porzingis comes over and pushes the Clippers. Hey, don't mess with our guy here. Are you kidding me? You don't touch Luka. Right? And and the ref gives the Clipper and Porzingis double technicals.
So that's 2 T's and he's gone.
Right. And even the Clippers after the game said, you can't eject somebody in the playoffs. Never mind for that. And they went to the monitor and looked at it and still decided it was worthy of a technical in the playoffs. And it gets, people like you and I remember when Robert Parrish threw 3 punches at Bill Laimbeer and didn't get a technical.
I'm not even sure he got a foul.
I don't think he did.
I really don't think he did, David. I think they called a foul on Laimbeer on that play, and I don't think that the punches ever warranted a foul.
I don't want to say things have changed, but my goodness. So, yeah. So an eventful night in pucks and on the hardwood if you're into that sort of thing.
And our Raptors took care of business.
Boy,
the Southwest Florida Raptors came right out of the gate and never even thought about making this a game.
Well, Brooklyn tried to. They made a big run. They were down like 30 early. They cut it to like 8. And then Toronto went, oh, really? You're going to make us play? Oh, okay.
I kept it on because that's the NBA. They're going to make a run. But man, oh man, Toronto just came out of the gate. At one point, ahead like 60-34 early.
Oh, yeah. They were on pace to score over 150 points early second quarter. Yeah. As it was, they scored 134. Listen, when the lowest scoring NBA game is 109-101, that's the league we're in nowadays, folks. It's old Western Conference basketball from the mid-'80s or old ABA.
Good. I know you like defense everywhere. I'm fine with this kind of basketball. I don't like games played in the low 90s, high 80s. I think that's the style is not what I enjoy. So of what I watched of the NBA last night, I enjoyed it. The hockey was good. It's August the 18th, and we're having triple headers in basketball and hockey every day. I'm sorry. I love it.
We're having quadruple headers.
Right.
Yeah, and we're going to have them through the rest of the month, too, until we get down to the point where there's only about 8 teams left. And then we still may have quadruple headers, at least in the NBA. But to some, Mark, the big sporting event yesterday was the new phone books are here. The new phone books are here. The equivalent thereof. That's how we used to react on Miller and Moulton when the NFL schedules were released. Now, 10 plus years ago, they were released at 2 in the afternoon. And it was great because, well, Miller and Moulton were on in the afternoon. So it was fantastic. Releasing at 2 o'clock.
That was a great show. Mark from Mastero's on the line. Hey, guys, what's the Lions schedule look like? Can you read that to me? I mean,
sure, Mark.
The show. I don't know if we ever did worse radio, and we thought it was terrific.
Well, it was terrific.
Let's play the schedule game, David. Let's go through the Dolphins schedule. Win or loss?
It was terrific because it was easy and we were doing 4 hours and it was April. All right. That's why it was fantastic. And even though it was lousy, our audience was sopping it up. Our audience was a big piece of bread and we were the gravy.
No, you're right. And we weren't even like the newfound little bit of olive oil with spices. You're right.
No.
We were gravy.
Out of the can.
This was a biscuit or a muffin or a roll, and you were
you were starving, okay? And we had more than you could handle.
Right. Yep. You're absolutely right with that definition.
But to some yesterday who are fans of the SEC schedule finally being released on August 17th. What a crazy year. Because usually these schedules are released like mid-season. I mean, normally the 2020 schedule, I believe, was first released in the SEC in October or November of last year. I mean, because I write it down. we go through it. We go, well, these will be our games. These will be our games.
Oh, you write it? Okay, yeah. You didn't? Did you write it down before the CBS job?
No.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, no.
I don't think that's an unfair question. You kind of
very fair.
Like that was
very fair
question. I think you writing down a schedule at any point. I mean, when did you begin that? When you were 8?
Well, I have always been big into schedules.
I know you have.
Always. Well, because we didn't have a lot of money, and we would plan, what's going to be our one game? What's our one time? When do you think that we can, take mom, who had 3 jobs, or my grandparents? My father's mom was the baseball fan in the family. Grew up a Brooklyn Dodgers fan, and then when they went away, she became a Mets fan. She's why I'm a Mets fan. And we used to watch all the Mets games together. My grandmother would sit there and keep score while watching baseball. She absolutely loved her baseball. Cool. She had every Mets yearbook from 1962 until her death, and she died in early 85. So the first 23 years of the Mets, she had every yearbook. And we would go, at least even in her later years, we would go at least once a year take the train, go to a game. And so we would sit down and go, Grandma, what do you think? And, try to get to a Yankee game even. Mark the cereal box tops, and if you got enough of them and you sent them in, and maybe you could get general admission seats for a few dollars off, and that's okay. Even at the old Yankee Stadium, in which GA seats are out there. I mean, you're far away, especially if you get the ones in left center that were behind the bullpen and the monuments and all that. I mean, you ain't close to the action. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton and Judge maybe could get a ball to you, but otherwise, forget it. So, yeah, I'm big into schedules. Always have been, Mark.
And week 4, David, of the SEC,
right,
is an effing dandy.
It is.
Because not only did they give us some games that are fun, I'm not even going to get to the 2 biggies because Mississippi State, I don't know how good they are, but they're always much better at home. They get A&M at home. That's salty.
Yeah.
Because A&M's one of the better teams in the West. That's a game, hey, you got to take care of business.
Well, and they also get it when A&M has just played Alabama and Florida. And now Mike Leach, game 4, you figure a new system and what have you, maybe they're starting to figure it out. And here comes A&M after the gauntlet they've just gone through. And this is going to be a salty game for them.
And Kentucky's at Tennessee. The week prior, Tennessee will have just traveled to Georgia. Makes that game a little more salty to me.
Right. And Kentucky's sandwiched in between Georgia and Bama for Tennessee also. And Kentucky's good this year. The schedule may get them, but they're good.
Auburn at South Carolina. I've always got a soft spot for the Gamecocks. That game has at least a little bit of intrigue to me, but that doesn't even get where we need to go because LSU's at Florida.
Right. And it's not going to be on CBS.
No, it's not.
Right. It's not good enough to get on CBS.
Again, LSU at Florida.
Right.
Not good enough
to
get on CBS.
Correct.
That's because Georgia and Alabama.
That'll be in prime time. Georgia, Alabama will be in prime time. And I believe that CBS only gets a game a week this year. All right, because of having to make do and make sure that ESPN has enough games and what have you. So I think CBS can only air one game per week. So that's why LSU, Florida will be on the 4-letter network, is my understanding, probably at 3:30, but it just won't be on CBS. So. And CBS, I'm hearing talk CBS may even get 2 primetime games. So it's going to be a different year.
Well, there's no doubt about that. But week 4, everybody just salivating because of the SEC schedule that gives us LSU at Florida and Georgia at Alabama on the same day. And hey, who knows? Who knows if we get to October 17th? It certainly looks like we are. I think the SEC is going to plug on through and keep on playing.
Although what happened in Chapel Hill, though, that is, let's be honest, that's the scenario that's going to derail the college football season, in which the students came back at the University of North Carolina. They acted the way college kids act. Classes haven't started yet. They're around one another. You're not going to believe this. They went out and partied in mass
campus on the 2 days before classes start,
and they didn't social distance, and they didn't wear masks. And I know we all find this shocking behavior. And so because of it, guess what? Well, a whole bunch of people are now in quarantine, and there's a whole bunch of positive cases of the coronavirus. And the University of North Carolina is like, well, that was fun while it lasted. You all need to go home now. Except for the athletes, you guys can stay.
So why we didn't put them in athletic dorms like I talked about months ago, because I solved this problem, and I'm a moron. I'm a moron that drinks too much, and this was that easy.
And so, Mark, the plan that we devised weeks ago, is now going to be played out at the University of North Carolina. The students are going home, the athletes are staying, and there you have it. Mm-hmm. And my guess is we're going to see this at a couple of dozen other colleges over the next couple of weeks.
The only reason we're not seeing it is more because of lack of testing, David.
Or the kids at North Carolina just got there a few days earlier. Just give it a week. I also think that there's a little bit of a bait and switch that's going to go on. I said it yesterday on the show. I think these colleges are going to get the kids in, get them enrolled, get their money. And then late August, early September, go, boy, this COVID is a little too much of it. You all need to go home. You all need to go home and take these classes online. Oh, no, the money stays. You go, the money stays. Oh, the athletes, no, you stay. You're already playing. No, you're practicing, you're playing, you got to stay.
And by athletes, we mean football players.
Correct.
We don't mean any of the other athletes. We want you to go home too, because you don't make us any money.
Right. No. Those
you're
sports
on
have been
the
canceled.
liability side. You're an expense.
Right.
The
No,
football player, see, he's on the profit side. He's on the revenue side of the ledger. We need him.
and the NCAA's already canceled everybody else's championships. But since they can't touch big-time football, no, they're still playing. The rest of you, no. Sorry, you don't make the cut. Miller and Moulton. A guy who I think's been into schedules for far longer than the two of us, maybe for as long as the two of us combined. Bill King, legendary sports talk voice in the South. College football is his thing. He will join us next. Miller and Moulton. Top of the morning to you. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Receiving over.
Alexa, play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
LeBron has shown his greatness. Kevin Durant's a better player.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Smart speaker.
Are we cheering for idiots? What's going on?
Sounds more like a dumb speaker, am I right?
You're an idiot. Nice job.
Get Southwest Florida sports talk delivered to your speaker. This is easy. Just say, Alexa,
Hello.
play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
Finally, something worthwhile.
I didn't think it was going to be this easy.
So, David, I watched the first episode of The Circus last night. Or yesterday after the show. So you've got you got Alex Morgan or whatever his name is there, the CBS girl, and then the two guys, and then they've added the fourth, the woman that used to run, the woman that ran Hillary's campaign.
Donna Brazile.
Is that her name? Okay. She was on the show a lot, last year. Now they've got her full time. So they start out, they're all in their different places and they're talking. And it's obviously Monday of the week because Kamala has not been named VP yet. So they're just kind of talking about the week that is and that Biden's in the lead and blah, 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 blah. And that Alex goes, yeah, but there's still a lot of time left for the Democrats to screw this up like they always do. And the lady that ran Hillary's campaign went easy there. And they pull a video of her, on the back of a plane, with Hillary. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you, but oh my God, it was phenomenal to just point out. Yeah, yep, you guys can overthink a 3-car funeral. Do not kid yourself.
Oh yeah,
but that was my favorite part of the whole episode. Wait a minute. David, did Vern Lundqvist ever work at Wink Television?
No.
All right.
No.
Well, I'm just telling you.
I know.
Okay.
It's been asked of Vern many times over the years. I asked. Was another gentleman by that name who did work at Wink. It was not.
Gotcha. I was looking at a commercial that they ran, this Trust Wink, and it shows Vern Lundqvist with the name, and I stopped it. That's why I literally had the promo held this whole thing. I'm like, what was that?
Right. But no, it's not. It's not Masters Vern Lundqvist.
Gotcha. I think they're trying to play like it is, if you want to know the truth.
That's a good question about which one of the Coyotes have no chance.
None.
The Blackhawks have no chance.
I say the Jackets because of the Human Torch, and I don't think they have much of a chance.
Yeah, I would agree. It's the Blue Jackets.
Let me know when we get inside. We get to a minute, Gerald, please.
Okay. Dan Martin over here, owner of D.R. Martin Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with.
You know what's a bad break for the Bolts? Tampa Bay could get Boston in the next round.
Oh, I know. Boy, that'd be a good series.
Yeah, but in the second round, the problem for Cooper is, you lose to Boston in a conference final.
You can
survive. You can survive. You lose in the second round. Because right now, based on the teams who are winning, Philly would play the Islanders.
Correct.
And Tampa would play Boston because they reseed. This is why it's a joke that Boston's not the one. I mean, right here. First off, it's ridiculous for Boston to have to play Tampa in the second round. I'm sorry. It's just they should have picked up with the points the way the NBA picked up with their standings.
They should have. It shouldn't have started. I mean, it didn't start level, but it didn't start with the advantage that I thought was there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they gave them a slight advantage, but not
correct.
Not justifying how good the regular season was.
Yeah, you can't.
I mean, the Blues and the Bruins were both fours.
Right. Now the Blues were only 2 points ahead of the Lanch. You know, they could have,
but they ended up being the four, didn't they?
Exactly. Right. And now that they reseed, here you go.
Yeah, this is the promo.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
"29 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. We're Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We're streaming at millerandmoulton.com, and we're broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, and being simulcast these days on the Landry Football Network. He is the voice of college sports, part of Nashville Sports Radio. He is Bill King. He's getting ready for his show in less than 30 minutes, live from the Omni Nashville Hotel. You can follow Bill on Twitter at Bill is King. Top of the morning, sir. Hope you and your family are healthy and doing well. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, what do you think about what the boys in Birmingham put together?
You know what? Here was my whole premise. Here was my thinking. I didn't care what they did. The only game I really cared about was to see where they put the Alabama-Auburn game, because there were so many rumors, probably all just crazy rumors from sitting at a bar somewhere. But I wanted to see where they put that one. Actually, it wasn't the last game. It was the second to last game. Other than that, all we've been through, all I want to do is see some football. I don't give a rip where they put the game. I don't give a rip where a team has to play the game. I don't care who got ripped off in a schedule and who didn't. I just want to play ball. At this point, I don't care.
Bill, you echo our sentiments 100%. You've been doing this a long time. One of the things that I said right when this started, right when we started talking about football, everybody used to have an athletic dorm. And it seems to me that if it came up, we never heard about it. In the day when everything's leaked out, Bill, we never heard of them going back to the old ways of doing things. And with what already happened at North Carolina, look, no system's perfect. But basketball and hockey got it figured out right now with these bubbles. And I'm not saying they could have bubbled football players, but they could have put them in a dorm. They could have had classes online, and they could have taken them away from the rest of the student population. They chose not to. That's my biggest worry of a season getting completed. What's your biggest worry?
Well, let me give you a little background. It's ironic you bring this up. There is some bad blood. It's not talked about because it's not on the important list between the SEC and the Big Ten. And that's one reason the SEC does not want to follow along with the Big Ten. When I got in this business, which was the mid to late 80s, so 30 plus years, one of the topics that was out there that was talked about a lot was compliance with Title IX. And you guys are wondering where I'm going. I'm going to connect all this up for you. Compliance with Title IX, because people weren't doing it. It was a 1972-ish law, but schools were not complying with it, making things equal, et cetera. And they were now starting to do it in the late 80s. They were saying, we've got to do this, got to do it, got to do it. And it was, again, one of the big topics that I would hear about every day and would study on every day. What happened during that period, late 80s, is the Big Ten did not like the SEC having athletic dorms. So one of the pieces of legislation they put in NCAA rules, guys, led by the Big Ten now, was you can't have athletic dorms for athletes only. You can have them, but you have to have a mixture, pretty much an equal mixture of the regular student body with them. And there's some bad blood from that. And that's how all that happened, guys. That turned into a rule. which is not a good rule, as you just mentioned. And I'm with you. They'd be much better off if we had them together. Now, it wouldn't be perfect. They'd still go out and party, guys. We know that. We did it. They're doing it right now. But it would be better than the situation we're in right now.
He's Bill King, Nashville Sports Radio. Follow him on Twitter at Bill is King. Do you think, and I know that you don't care, you just, you want your football, you need your football and what have you, but do you think, though, what the schedule looked like before yesterday, who was playing whom, and also the games that got added, and certain teams didn't get certain tough games, A&M and Florida both got each other, etc. Do you think there's a team that has been hurt? Because I think A&M has. When I look at A&M's old schedule, I thought maybe they'd be at worst 9-1 before they faced the two big boys at the end, and that they might even be 10-0. And now I think to myself, well, heck, they might be 1-2 to start this season.
Probably, but I don't think it affects the end game. And the end game to me has always been the chalk. I know it's boring because people want variety, but I don't think it changes Alabama, and I don't think it changes Georgia. And those are the two best teams in the league, and they're the two best teams in their division. And I don't think that alters that. I'm not a believer that Florida's going to win it this year in the East. I like Florida. I think they're good. I just don't think they're better than Georgia. So when I looked, and I hadn't even memorized the schedule, guys, seriously. All I wanted to see was that Alabama-Auburn game, and I perused it, but I didn't obsess over it. And I didn't see anything that changes the ultimate outcome of the regular season league race.
Do you believe what others have said regarding the schedule? I mean, they did take care of Florida, Georgia, Alabama, LSU. Do you think it was on purpose?
Well, the SEC office is not just because of location. They've always been pro-Alabama, but they're also pro-Kentucky basketball. They've got to be. Kentucky basketball is your brand. It's everybody else in the league added up together does not equal Kentucky basketball. So, yes, but look, Alabama, and I know that historically they don't play Georgia a lot anyways, but this year they were playing Georgia regular season. And they already had on their schedule, obviously, Tennessee. So there wasn't a whole lot you could do with it, with Alabama, frankly. Nobody wants Alabama added to their schedule. That'd be crazy, right? So I'll give you guys a quick example. It is Alabama-centric. 1992, and I'll make it quick. It's the first SEC championship game, Legion Field in Birmingham. First 2 years they did it in Birmingham, Legion Field, and it was the Alabama-Florida game. And my seat in the press box was right next to Roy Clammer and the other SEC dignitaries. And at the end, when Florida tied it up 21-21, before the Antonio Langham interception to win it for Alabama, when Florida came back to tie that game up, Roy Clammer got up and literally nervously started pacing. Couldn't have Florida win that game. You cannot have Florida win that game. Alabama is the team that could win a national championship. So I know there's bias. I've seen it. I've witnessed it.
And Spurrier's Gators team, I think, had lost 2 or 3, and Alabama was unbeaten, and it'd win, and they'd play Miami, and sure enough, they won. Yep. And we all know what happened in that Sugar Bowl, and that Miami team was shocked that somebody could do that to them, especially since they were the defending national champions. Bill, do you think coming out of this season that we end up with more conference games in the SEC, if not immediately, because schedules are all pretty much set, but do you think that the fans are going to get a dose of 10 conference games and go, yeah, I don't know if I can live with 8 anymore. Can you at least give us a 9th?
Well, I know that if we get through these games, the fans are going to like it, but the coaches other than Saban don't want any more games. And if I'm in the SEC office, I don't want any more league games because it gives you more chances to lose. And Saban wants more, but the other coaches don't because they know how difficult it is. For job security guys, it's also difficult. So and here's another item. If you're the SEC, You're already winning more national championships by far than everybody else. So you know you don't need an extra game. The committee's not holding you accountable for that. They don't care. Obviously, they let you play your 8. Everybody else but the ACC plays 9, and they let you win natties. And they put you in there. Sometimes they put 2 teams in there, Georgia and Alabama. So I wouldn't do it.
Bill, if UCF is seemingly the group of 5 team left playing that has the best shot at throwing a donut up there.
Right.
We had a poll question. If the AAC throws a donut up there, do they get in the playoff? And the answers were yes, no, and never. And I put never up because I was always of the never opinion. Not in 2020. I say they should get in. I don't want to see 2 SEC teams if an AAC team can throw a donut up in 2020. If we get to the finish line and have a playoff, do you think an AAC undefeated team should get invited in 2020?
Boy, that's a good one. Let me answer it one way first. I don't think the committee will do it. They're not going to leave out an SEC team that's seemingly even if it's a second SEC team for UCF. I just don't think they do it. Now, 2020 is interesting, guys, as you've pointed out. Doesn't need explaining. But look, those teams, man, they're darn good. I'm not denying that, but I doubt they would do it. And if I'm on the committee, I probably wouldn't do it either.
Bill, what do you think the fallout is for the Big Ten? Let's just say that the 3 Power Fives that are going forward can pull off some semblance of a season. And say they play 8 of the 10 conference games that they've all got scheduled. What do you think the fallout is for the Big Ten? We think Ohio State will be fine. They're a factory. We think the rest of the conference really gets hurt by this.
It's a good point. Yeah, you're not going to hurt the Buckeyes. Buckeyes don't play this year. They've got by far the number 1 recruiting class in America right now. Now, again, some could come, some could go, but I mean, the recruits don't seem to be caring when it comes to the Buckeyes. As a brand, the league looks poorly led. And, of course, Jim Delaney, who moved here, is no longer there. And I think they would be in much better shape if he had not retired. But, of course, he'd been there 30 plus. He took that job in 1990, so he put in his time. And I think they look bad. I mean, the Pac-12 already has a horrible reputation. I don't know what more you could do to them. It just further buttresses what everybody thinks about them. Committee doesn't much consider them when it comes to the playoffs. So, yeah, the Big Ten will get hurt as a brand, but it won't be hurt at the supreme top, which is, as you guys have already alluded to, the Buckeyes.
Bill, as always, we really appreciate your time. I know your show's coming on in a few minutes. We're like you, Bill. Let's just hope the next time we talk, we're talking about the next game that's being played and about the game that was just finished having been played, because we need some football, Bill.
Oh, I agree. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Bill. The voice of college sports, Bill King, Nashville Sports Radio. You can follow Bill on Twitter at Bill is King. And it's so funny, Mark, you answer a question a certain way, like Arch in our Twitch chat room saying that Bill is a Bama homer. No, actually, if anything, Bill's a Tennessee homer. Oh, right. He's just stating, right.
To back up what David said, in a big way.
Right.
He is a diehard Vols fan.
Yes.
I lived in Nashville. I've listened to Bill King since before I ever thought about really doing sports talk for a living.
He is a proud resident of the Volunteer State. Very proud, in fact. And so that's why Bill saw this comment, he'd laugh. Okay, but Bill's just stating what he believes to be fact. That, yeah, the SEC office is biased towards Alabama football and Kentucky basketball because those have been their brands.
He is just stating the obvious, but what he is saying is all of you may think it's true. I'm telling you, you're right. That's what he said. I know it for a fact.
ESPN, as we head to break here, did a 30 for 30 on that first SEC championship game, 1992. That at the time, even before you ended up knowing what the matchup was, most everybody else thought they were crazy. Now think about that now. almost 30 years later. But when Roy Kramer announced we're going to have a conference championship game, I mean, literally the rest of the sport looked at him and said, are you nuts? Then he ends up with unbeaten number 2 Alabama with everything to lose against a good Gators team, dangerous, but not a national contender here. You know, they're like a top 10, 12 team, but they're just good enough they could beat you on a given day. And obviously, legendary coach and throw it all around the lot. And he had Alabama, on their heels. It's mid-fourth quarter. It's a tie game at Legion Field. So the Gators are basically playing a road game. And Alabama's going to lose their chance to play for the national title here. And what made it worse, remember, Mark, back in the day, you couldn't arrange 1 versus 2 matchups in the bowls. You had to get lucky. Miami was an independent. So Miami could pick the bowl they wanted to play in. So you knew that if Alabama could win and be the SEC champion and go where? To the Sugar Bowl at Miami would be like, tell us the date and time, we'll be there. And it was right, and Langham jumped a route and picked it off, returned it for a touchdown, 28-21 Alabama. And a lot of people have wondered if Florida had won that game, what would the future of college football have been? How quickly would the SEC championship game have died a quick death? And then obviously none of the other conferences do it either.
By the way, the one thing that you said in all of that I really took from that, not that it all wasn't relevant. The SEC original championship game was played at Legion Field.
Right.
That's the part that people have to remember. They set up an SEC championship because I think we all have this Atlanta is the capital of the South because that's what they've told us forever. And I lived in Atlanta, and it is. But when I lived in Atlanta, they were playing this game in Birmingham, Alabama.
Right. But it went because Bama, the Bama-Florida game was a terrific game. They had the day to themselves on college football. I mean, Keith Jackson and ABC did the game. And it was a terrific game. Bama wins exciting late, and now they're going to go play for the national title. And because it crystallized perfectly, it led to it becoming a big deal. Wow, we should all do this.
And then they realized the cash involved.
Right.
And we forget about, was it K-State beating Oklahoma?
No, Texas.
Texas. K-State beats Texas and takes them out of the shot for a national title.
Yes.
I mean, so it has happened. It's obviously happened to the Buckeyes, but yeah.
It happened to Tennessee. Nick and LSU knocked Tennessee. When Tennessee in 2001, and I don't know how many people have checked the schedule. Tell you what, we'll after the break, we'll have a little schedule anomaly here and how the past and the present could come together. Huh? How about that?
Look at that. The past and present come together. And a poll question. We've got a lot to get through because I have no idea what the hell David wants to do with this next segment. And by listening, we don't have a clue what our poll question is. A lot to figure out why you should be a part of our Twitch broadcast because you will see all of this in action during the commercial break at twitch.tv, Miller and Moulton.
Welcome to the program. This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Foot and Fan. Normally Bill is Mark. There's no way Bill King in a normal year, he'd be in that poll question, yes, no, never. He'd be a never. But Bill, I think, can really appreciate the fact that whoever plays this year, whoever puts forth the effort and tries, all right, and yes, Gator Boy, I am jerking your bobber, all right, I do think that you could wear Bill down this year and go, hey, Bill, basically, how about a little something for the effort? Particularly if the fourth team is going to be, what, a rematch? Pick the conference, Mark. I mean, we're going to put Oklahoma and Texas in? They already played. We're going to put Notre Dame and Clemson in? They've already played. We're going to put Bama or LSU and Georgia
the only way
or
to do
Florida?
Is if Florida gets there? Because they're not playing Bama?
Like in theory.
I mean, that's right. I mean, help me out here. Florida beats Georgia.
Right.
Loses a close one to Bama. We're going to put them back in.
Right. I mean, that's why I really think the way it lines up this year, like even LSU.
Right. Hey, can you stop the radio show for just a second
and
come up with an effing poll question? Because this is what you do. You talk for 4 minutes.
Really? The guy who all the last few times with a minute to go has gone, hey, what are we going to do for a poll question?
Well, that's why I'm doing it now. I did it.
Why do we have to do a poll question now? We can do it at 7 o'clock.
It's the time for the poll question. I've got a banner that says it. Look.
You've got your sponsor. See, you just want to get in the fake sponsor.
Look, there it is.
Back to the reef.
Bitch.
Back to the reef.
It doesn't have to be. I can change it out.
Poll question.
Might have it by the Marco Island Dairy Queen today.
See, I don't know if enough people would respond. Like Florida and Tennessee is the last game of the year. I think it's great. I like them playing in November. This year it'll be December as opposed to September, but I don't know if that'll get enough response.
You really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
This message is sponsored by the Florida A&M University.
Did you read that article that I sent you by chance?
Yes, I was familiar with it, but yes, I still enjoyed it. Because it was a little deeper than
that's my thought. I mean,
my understanding. How about this? All right. Do we want to ask, even on August 18th, in light of everything that's going on, do you think a college football season will happen?
I'll talk to my doctor.
Otherwise, I have no idea. What SEC schedule?
No, I was kind of going along the lines of at the fans of going, because now we're talking about 25% fans, and like.
Want to ask people now?
Would you still go?
Would you go to a game?
Right. With 25% fans, I mean, yes, I'd go, and then I actually have a few reasons why they wouldn't go. Different atmosphere. I mean, because to me, though, if they're not going to allow
okay, here's an interesting fact along those lines. Green Bay Packers season ticket holders, 80% of Packers season ticket holders have opted out. Yeah. 8 of Packers season ticket holders.
I know.
Right. And so,
by the way, I had a doctor's appointment yesterday. At the end of it, I said I'd do a radio show. What kind of radio show? Sports. Oh, really? 15-minute conversation before I left about the Bears.
Sure. What's he going to do?
Oh, no, I'm in.
Right. What are you going to see? Patients?
He goes, I listen to my guys back in Chicago in the morning. Where are you, Fox Sports? Oh, really? So, and then when I told him that the Bears, I think, are going to be worse than the Lions, I broke his heart.
Wow. That's bold.
He'd already given me my stuff. I didn't need anything else out of him.
Right.
I was living at that point.
He can cross you off the list.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Wait for it. Seven minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us, Miller and Moulton. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, and simulcast on the Landry Football Network, also on Twitch TV.
Before you bring the past and the present together, can I give you a little bit about the future?
Okay.
Because we received a tweet, and Guillermo has been tweeting us for a while. Regular listener of the show. He is an attorney.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's really relevant, but he regular tweeter, listens to the show, and he sent us a tweet 2 minutes ago, and I'm going to share it with our audience. And I usually don't share when people aren't listening to the show, because that's the very first thing he says. Not listening to the show live today. Wife and I having a second baby. Should be here by 8 a.m. Have a good show, boy.
Well, Mark, make sure you tell them, download it on millerandmoulton.com and catch it after the fact, because, Guillermo, there's going to come a point today when she goes to sleep and chases you out of the room, and you'll need to occupy a few hours.
Well, and Guillermo, if you are listening to the downloaded, I believe that most hospitals now have a television, and I don't know why you could just simply can't say Miller and Moulton on YouTube. I mean, it's that easy, for crying out loud.
And for what you're paying for that room, they should have that technology and that stick to be able to get it on the screen. 479-5551 is how you can otherwise chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. 479-5551. All right, you and your damn poll question.
We don't have one.
All
Bring
right.
the past and present together. That's more important.
All right, whatever. 2001 was a fascinating year. Obviously, the events of September 11th. And the Florida-Tennessee game was supposed to happen that week, and so it got pushed back to the end of the year. So Florida and Tennessee actually played the week of what was supposed to be the SEC championship game, and the week after the Gators played the Noles. And it turned out to be Spurrier's last game in the swamp because we didn't realize that a month later he was going to leave and go coach the Redskins. And if Florida had won the game, they would have gone to the SEC title game. They were, I believe, number 2 in the country, and they would have been in position to play Miami, that great Hurricanes team of 01. Florida was in line to play the game. Fulmer and the Vols come to the swamp and beat the Gators, but then they go to Atlanta and Nick and LSU in just, I believe, a second year there, upsets the Vols, keeping Tennessee out of the championship game. Miami was going to play Tennessee. It's one of the few times that the SEC championship game had a major impact in terms of knocking a team out of the national championship game. And then that's how the debate came as to who Miami was going to play, Nebraska, Oregon, or Colorado. Tennessee was in line to be that team. LSU knocked them out. But Florida and Tennessee played late in the year, and they played a great dramatic game, came down to a 2-point conversion. And I have always thought that the Noles game and the Tennessee game should flip on the Florida schedule. But granted, I'm not from here. And, so when the game is played, I've always thought that conference game should be at the end. And this year, Mark, with no Florida State game, what did the SEC do? Final week of the regular season, Florida at Tennessee. Could Tennessee be in the role of spoiler to knock the Gators out of the SEC title game?
Well, you have them then beating Georgia.
Spot or losing, but Georgia's schedule's pretty hard. Remember that at Alabama? Other tough games. Just saying. The Auburn, just throwing that out there.
Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio.
Why pay more for a used car or truck when Galliana Kia and Fort Myers can sell you a new car for less?
Mark, your mic sounds a little lower than Dave's.
All right.
A new car for just $49 per month. 2020 Kia Rio, just $13,990.
Let me know when we come back if that's better.
Okay.
Galliana Kia has lenders to get almost anyone approved. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you're upside down. Why buy an overpriced used car when you can buy a new car for less? Brand new Kias, just $49 per month. You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia. At Galliana Kia, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com.
Looking for a frameless shower door? My shower door.
Will you go to a football game in person in 2020, or would you go to a game?
Would, because most people.
All right. Some teams are going to have fans in the stands this year. Would you go to a football game in 2020?
We've been named number 1 by readers of the News Press and Naples News for 17 consecutive years and have just been named as Lee County's Manufacturer of the Year. Want to see more? Go to
Well, I'll say this, Memphis. I think because of when the game is played, like you think you're going to beat one of the big 3 on your schedule. I think your best shot is the Gators at the end. Of the 3, I think your best shot is at the end.
You dance so common with this group. But really, the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Satchmo is to meet one. Visit the shelterpetproject.org.
No, the Gators, Spitz didn't pick up. The Gators picked A&M. Right.
Yeah,
but of the big 4, if you will, Florida's the only one that picked up a challenging game.
And Florida's 4th of the big 4 right now. They just are.
Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health.
But I could see where Gator fans are like, "Hey, hold on, we already had LSU on the schedule, and now you gave us A&M." But they did that because they looked at Georgia, and Georgia had Bama and Auburn, and they looked at you and said, "Well, you had A&M and Ole Miss, so we need to throw you a little more meat on the bone." That's why they gave you A&M. Hey, listen, Spitz, they gave you A&M, and they could have given you Bama. I mean,
No, because then they would have given Bam in Florida.
Well, I understand, but remember, the original thought was they're just going to take who you're playing next year on the crossover, and because Bama and Florida will play next year. I don't think they've played in the regular season. I don't think they've played since 2011. Florida and Alabama.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning. How the heck are you? Yep, that's it. Miller.
I drove, which made me happier. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
And Moulton. Look at you. I'm the man of the house. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Oh, no, we're not, Giro. Unless you want it. No, because we had the interview at 6:30.
Oh, we can do it at 7:30. I was planning on doing it at 7:30.
Oh, I guess we're doing it at 7:30, Giro. I've got a graphic, so I don't care.
You're live.
As we approach a couple minutes after the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We're Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live, the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. I don't know how much longer we're going to be broadcasting live on the YouTube channel. That's up for debate. We just may take the whole thing and put it on Twitch.tv, which is also where you can catch the Landry Football Network, of which we're proud to be their morning drive show. 479-5551 is how you can chime in via text or call on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 239-479-5551.
We did come up with a poll question. We kind of had it before there, but I wanted to make sure we were on the same page, and I loved the past and present stuff. Today's poll question brought to you by September's on Marco Island, the nightclub on the Rock. September's on Marco Island.
So how long has September's been out of business?
Oh, God. I couldn't even tell you how long. I mean, I put it this way, David. When I took a term off of college in 89, I believe, my sophomore year of college, I had a fake ID. I was 20. And September's was the place to go after O'Shea's. Both O'Shea's burnt to the ground.
Right. The Chicago people bought it, right?
They bought in.
Suddenly,
they bought in. Yeah, the Rose family bought in with the Shea family. And the Rose family apparently had some connections in the Chicago area. When the restaurant started coming upon hard times, miraculously, a fire started inside the restaurant.
Oh!
And it burnt to the ground.
Hate when those kitchen fires.
Right, at 3 in the morning.
Hurry.
You got to make sure everything's off, David.
Well, it was after hours, and some folks were just sitting around making themselves some food.
Probably a cigarette left on a burner.
Probably.
Exactly.
Hate when those things happen.
But today's poll question is, are you going to go to a game? Some teams are going to have fans in the stands this year.
Yeah.
Would you go to a football game in person in 2020?
By the way, this also counts for Fridays. I mean, this is Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I mean, would you go to a football game this year? I mean, would you go? Now, we asked this question 4 months ago. And normally we don't repeat poll questions. But as we have joked, or at least tongue-in-cheek, this whole COVID thing is a fluid situation.
And it's Groundhog's Day. I mean, it truly is.
And so now, though, that we're having football, or at least we think we do, ladies and gentlemen, 23 nights from tonight, the Texans and the Chiefs.
And they're having fans.
Yes, they are. How many? Well, still to be determined.
It's a fluid situation.
Right. We're going to talk with the governor, to see whether or not we need an exemption. What do we feel comfortable with, et cetera. Yeah, we'll make it happen. We'll work it out. Depends if it's an election year or not. Will it help the governor to have more people in the stands or less? There's some things still to be worked out here. So that's our poll question. All right. Would you?
I mean, you will because of work.
Right.
So you're a yes.
Yes.
Because you desperately need to work.
Correct. And it is my understanding I will be physically present at the games.
As of today.
Yes, that's what I've been told. I've been assured, at least on Saturdays, that I will physically be at the games. That I was assured of.
Thursday, Sundays, you're not aware yet.
Right. From what I heard, I will be at those games physically as well. We will not be in a Los Angeles studio, which is good. I would prefer to be at the games.
I actually think it's terrific for Miller and Moulton. I don't know about for you, but for the show, you're better in this time zone. That's the majority of the time.
You mean doing the show 3 to 6 a.m. Pacific?
It's a rough one for you. You've done it. You're a trooper, and I don't even think I've dropped the bomb on you that I'm going to be gone for 7 days during football season. I'm leaving the country for a little while.
Oh, look at you!
Yeah.
Look at you. That means I'm going to have to figure out technology here. Oh man, can't believe you're doing that to me.
I know.
I mean, I can barely click on the link and get on the air every morning. Now I'm going to have to set things up. My goodness.
I'm sorry.
Man, oh, man.
I'm sorry.
Giro, it's going to be some rough mornings coming up there, big fella.
7 shows in October, David. I'm going to be out of the country. That's
Buckle up, Giro. You're going to need the coffee in the studio. Not going to be allowed to leave the studio when I'm solo.
But the poll question is, would you go to a game? And I know it sounds silly, but there's a lot of factors. One is just, do you feel comfortable? I mean, that's actually the first one. Do you feel comfortable going to the game? But if we're going to only have 25% capacity, it's going to be weird. Tailgating's not going to be the same. High-fiving the stranger in the row in front of you won't happen because, well, that person's not going to be there.
Maybe.
Well, not if we're at 25% capacity.
Right. But here's the thing. There is some talk that they're going to allow like family pods, if you know what I mean. And so to me, I have a feeling that families will sit together like if they were in a suite together.
Yes, totally. I guess that just what I said was high-fiving the stranger in the row in front of you.
That's true.
That won't happen. That's part of the great part of sports.
Yes.
You and I have talked about, like, I used to go to Michigan State games as a child. My grandfather had 8 season tickets. There were people that sat in front of us that I high-fived for 5 years. None of us know their names. None of us knew their names then. But we'd see them at the game. Hey, how you doing? Good. How are you? You'd see them 5 or 6 Saturdays a year. And not everyone, because we would give our tickets to someone and you didn't go to every game. The family split it up. Their family split it up. But they're part of your football family.
Right.
When I go to Steelers games, I don't know the 2 people that sit next to my mother-in-law in her seat, but I've talked to them. We've exchanged conversations over the years. I know he has 3 kids.
Same thing with the parking lot. If you have your spot, you're used to the same people around you. So that may be your time with them. Right. No doubt.
That this year will be different. And that's part of the game. It's part of these, particularly on Saturdays, David. Sundays in big cities, you could be taking mass transit. A lot of, when I go to Steeler games, a lot of the time, we don't park. We take the mass transit right to the stadium. I walk in and go to the game. But on Saturdays, half of the experience is the tailgating.
Well, and Mark, you're bringing up something in which we as the sports fan have seemingly adjusted here in the last couple months. We're having hockey, basketball, and baseball in front of no fans, whether they're being digitally appearing on the screen or no, the sport's not interested in that. They're literally, tarping the seats, if you will, maybe some cardboard cutouts in baseball, but no fans, fake crowd noise. That's what we're getting with our hockey, with our basketball, and with our baseball. I am very curious how the sports fan is going to react if football is presented the same way. And I know most people don't do this. And yes, I'm a goober. I'm a little strange. But I will watch an old football game again on SEC Network or CBS Sports Network. And I'll watch it for a couple of reasons. Oftentimes, it's a broadcast that I was a part of, and I just want to listen to it, because listening to it after the fact is a lot different than listening to it as it happens. But the other thing that I've been watching this summer, Mark, is I've been watching how many times crowd shots, cheerleader shots, non-action is shown. How much of the fabric of the broadcast is the environment, is the atmosphere? And the one thing that I have determined, first off, it's a lot more for a college game than it is a pro game.
Yep.
I will tell you that. All right. Whether there's just a lot more scenery and there's a lot more atmosphere, whatever it is. But there's a lot more of that that's part of the broadcast. Also, Mark, the broadcasts are longer, as we've talked about.
Oh.
There's more plays. There's more dead time. You've got to fill the screen with something.
You actually may be busier this year on Saturdays. Gary's going to have to work more. There's going to be more replays, if you will, because, David, you're right. There are a lot of crowd shots on Saturday. I mean, just all of you in your head. For me, the first thing I think of is the Michigan fan that they show with his hands on it. I will see that kid until the day I die and laugh, laugh, laugh.
The App State field goal?
No, the Michigan State game.
Oh, okay. The block punt. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, because there's a few of those. Well, because I just saw the App State one like a month ago, and there were a few of those fans too, because what a shock that was. But yes.
But so, I mean, those crowd shots that we all love, the Alabama Auburn one, I mean, they're just some terrific crowd shots. Those are gone.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right, David.
And the atmosphere.
And in hockey and basketball, sorry, David, but in hockey and basketball, the pace is just faster. There's more play. You don't have to cut away in those sports. Whereas in football, we've talked about this. There is a massive amount of downtime in a football game. Actually, I think baseball would probably be, watching baseball right now would be your best guess of how they're going to try to film football, because the downtime is very similar.
But the enjoyment of the broadcast, there's the part of us that's going to be foaming at the mouth because, oh, thank goodness it's football. Give it to me in any form that you can. But then there's the other part that's going to be like, boy, this just does not look and sound and feel like what I'm used to. And I'm wondering, because for whatever reason, Mark, the sports fan has been okay with our racing and our golf and our basketball and our hockey and our baseball without fans. We've adjusted to a large degree, and we're like, this is fine.
The golf, obviously, because the pace of play is better, is one of the things that we like. But I will say this, David, I've watched a ton of golf. Do you know what I've enjoyed the most? Is the hole that's by the public when 100 people can cheer a little bit.
And you do hear, hear a few people that are clapping.
Yeah, when someone makes a putt and actually has to acknowledge the 14 people in the gallery on Steve's porch.
I will say I noticed it for the first time in a big way with the PGA when Morikawa hit that drive, so close. On 16, and normally that just would have been a roar. And it's another thing that's going to be weird about Augusta this year. Let's be honest. Not only will the course look different because it will not be as colorful, it will be maybe a different colorful. But what makes Augusta is they talk about the roars and the echoes, and there will be none. None.
And what did we get last year? There was a Jack roar,
right?
And there's a Tiger roar,
no doubt. An Arnie roar, Jack roar, and a Tiger roar, and everyone's known it. Right.
There are no others, and for everybody else in that tournament, I think that's look at. Who knows if Tiger is going to have his game together? But if he has his game together, he has a shot on the field because of the gallery, the patrons. David, don't say it. This is all recorded. Don't even think about it.
Why? I'm not a part of the broadcast anymore. Those are spectators. Those are fans. Those are crowds. Okay. Or as Jack Whitaker once said, and he got banned.
Unruly mob.
An unruly mob running throughout the course. Oh my goodness.
You're not allowed to run there. Very, very specific. No running.
But also there's the birdie roar and there's an eagle roar. Okay. Even if it's not of the, Jack, Arnie, Tiger variety, but you can just tell in which you go, ooh, that sounds like a 3. And, that will be missing. And I found it for the first time. I was missing it at the PGA. I'm like, because there were just some amazing shots. I mean, at one point we had a 7-way tie early in the back 9 of the PGA, and normally the golf course would be a buzz, and they'd have 40,000 people, and it would, and I think it's made it easier for the guys to play. I really do.
Oh,
but that's my theory.
Never makes the putt that he makes when we got started there after JT makes the 70-footer.
Right, and he comes back and drains the 30-footer.
There's no way in hell he makes that putt, David. No way. And he said so.
Yeah, well, he commented and said, listen, I don't know if I make it, but if there was a crowd, I would have had to wait 2 to 3 minutes before I could even do my pre-shot routine. I just would have had to wait for the roar to dull down. So football will be, I think the fan will see and feel it far differently than they're seeing and feeling their other sports right now. Good pickup by you, though, if you think about it, that baseball and football actually have roughly the same amount of action in the game in terms of the ball being in play. I mean, the ball is in play for less than 10 minutes of a football game. If you add up the 6-7 seconds of all the plays, the ball is in play for less than 10 minutes. And obviously, a broadcast is 3.5 hours, depending on the sport. Now, college, the ball may be in play 10 to 12 minutes because they run more plays. 479-5551, 479-5551, the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Curious whether or not Gator fans going to like the Tennessee game at the end of the year. I've always thought the Florida State and Tennessee game should be flopped on the schedule. I told that to Mark, you'll appreciate this. I told that to a Tennessee person about 10 years ago. Looked right at him and said, you do know, I literally looked at their football schedule because Tennessee's football schedule is always front loaded. They play Florida in September. They play Georgia usually the first week of October, and they play Alabama third or fourth week of October. And I look right at him and go, listen, if you guys are good, you tell me how you're going to get on CBS with this schedule. And you look at the back after they play Alabama. They play Vandy. They play Missouri. That you just go through it every year. They play Kentucky. And you look at it and go, how are you going to get on CBS?
Yeah, their last 2 games are always Kentucky and Vandy.
I mean, they have 4 games left usually after they play Alabama at least, sometimes 5. And you look right at them and go, listen, unless you're undefeated, number 1 in the country, you can't get that 3:30 Saturday time slot. It's just not possible.
No, you're an ESPN team.
Well, and with this schedule, quite frankly,
Network.
Now
they had moved the Georgia game back originally already. I mean, their original schedule had them playing Georgia in November this year. So it already had changed. But typically, you're right, David. Typically, that Tennessee schedule is, Georgia, they played Florida and Georgia back-to-back every year, pretty much, or 1 game in between. And after Alabama, Kentucky, Missouri, 1 year LSU, because that gets on there, but Kentucky, Missouri, Vandy. Kentucky, Missouri, Vandy. I mean, that's how they finished the year.
Right.
Now, they did move the Georgia game originally before this all got moved around, and that's a break for Tennessee getting on television because that's always a good game.
Miller and Moulton. Our poll question, and if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, you see it's brought to you by September's on Marco Island, and Mark's pretty sure they haven't been there for about a quarter century. September's on Marco Island. But would you go to a football game this year? It's just yay or nay, right?
Yes.
I mean, you didn't get cute. You didn't throw in a never, a no way, or just yay or nay. Would you go? And the reason we thought of this is it was revealed in the last 48 hours. Think about this. And listen, those of you who may have season tickets to the Canes or the Knowles or the Gators or the Dolphins or the Bucks, Mark Miller, all right, I don't know what you've done here in the last couple of weeks when you've gotten the emails and the offers in the mail.
Don't get me started.
But Green Bay Packer fans, I mean, when we think of fan bases in the NFL, we'd put that fan base top 5, right? I mean, the top quarter of the league anyway, in terms of their fandom and how devoted they are. And, well, 80% of Packers season ticket holders have opted out of the 2020 season. Now, there are 2 reasons for that. I mean, there is a financial component. I mean, a lot of us are hurting with what's gone on. You could see where somebody would opt out this year for money alone. Never mind for the coronavirus. But when Mark and I both saw that story, and I think we saw it on Sunday, 80% of Packers season ticket holders have opted out of the 2020 season. Well, first off, I'll say this, Mark, makes it easy for them if and they've already said they're not going to have fans at their first 2 home games, but if they decide to have fans at their remaining 6 home games, sounds like you could just, with the remaining season ticket holders, would be it. I mean, out of the crowd at Lambeau, I don't know how many of them are season ticket holders.
99.9%.
Right. So then, in theory, if you're trying to have 15 to 18,000 people at the games, my guess is you could just have the remaining season ticket holders be your crowd.
Yep.
Not have to put any tickets up for sale. But still, it surprised me, Mark. I don't know if you found the 80% surprising. I found it very surprising.
Well, what's amazing to me, David, is a month and a half ago, it was 50% with Packers, because I had seen an article a while back that 50% said they were unsure of going. The fact that between June, July, and August, that it's gone the other way, that's what surprised me.
So that's why we ask you, would you go this year? And some of you are going to have to make, I mean, I could see where this is going to, if we play high school football this year, and right now the plan is on Monday, practices will start and we're going to play. But my guess is there are some families that are going to have to make some hard decisions here. You know, grandparents normally go to their grandkids' games when they can. You know, we all know, obviously, if you're older, you're more at risk. And will you go this year? Will you go? And that'll be tough. That'll be emotional to decide, I mean, I love you, but I'm not going to take the risk. You know, especially if your grandson or daughter is a senior.
Right. Will they be allowed?
And then there's that.
That's the, to me, the bigger question is, will they even be allowed? How many tickets are you going to get? I would love to. And I know a couple people that work for high schools. I'm trying to figure out, but they don't know yet. They don't know what they're doing. Because
let's be honest, though. I mean, if you're playing, part of the reason that they're playing is the same reason that they're playing on Saturdays and Sundays, money.
I understand that, David, but when you allow the students to go, and then you allow the parents to players to go, how many more people are you going to allow? You're not going to be able to do it at 100%. I don't think. And I'd love to know. I'm so curious of all of this. You know, the Blades said they're starting in December.
Right. That's the plan right now.
Okay. Without being able to sell every ticket, I don't know. And look, the Blades don't average 7,000 anymore, but they average 4,000.
Sure.
They have over half a capacity most nights.
Right.
Their weeknights are when they have the bad crowds. How many are you going to let in? And if you don't let in more than 50%, why the hell are you playing?
Hey, there's a lot of talk in hockey and basketball circles that next season, even with it starting in December, is going to start potentially in a bubble. Well, you can do that at the highest level, but you can't do that at the triple and double A levels. I mean, come on now. I mean, the NBA is spending $180 million to pull this bubble off. I don't know what the NHL's spending, but I'll bet you they're spending about $100 million to pull off their bubbles easily. All right. Well, I mean, can't do that in minor league sports, for goodness sakes.
Talking about doing it for college basketball. Like conference bubbles I'd seen. Come on.
Well, I do think
that. They can do it with a team. They can't do it with a whole league.
You know what I think they're going to try to do, though, Mark? You know, like the Big Ten ACC Challenge? I think they may try to pull off that at 2 locations in mid to late December and see, because first off, that'll get them on TV. They'll make a little bit of money. All right. But I think the NCAA may want to try it because they may be thinking, you know, we may have to do something like this for the tournament. Let's see how this goes. All right. And then give us kind of a 3-month head start if we have to make similar plans for mid to late March. But I think, first off, if I was running the sport, I would not want to wait until January 2nd. I would want to try to get something out there. I think a Big Ten ACC Challenge, I think the SEC plays the Big 12 now. They usually do it in late January. I would try to pull, one of those off and kind of dip our toes in the water and then get ready for conference play coming up in a week's time. So I'm wondering if we'll see that. But hey, think about it. If you're running the A-Sun, you got 4 teams in Florida. Do you have them all go to Jacksonville, say? You got 2 teams in Jacksonville, 1 near Daytona and FGCU. Instead of everybody hosting everybody home and away, do you set up a Jacksonville pod for a week and have everybody play each other twice, if you know what I mean? And do it that way. And then, now I don't think they would, but I'm just saying, I know it's being kicked around.
And I know that they can't lose the season because they need the March money so desperately.
Right.
How much money are they going to lose doing what you're talking about in order to get their March money?
Well, I mean,
because David, they're not everything you're talking about. There's no fans if you're doing these things.
Right. Or very
and with
little.
no fans, there's no television contract for the A-Sun. So someone explain to me what I'd love to ask Ken. And Ken, if you're listening, you can text me or David. How much money can you afford to lose with basketball so that you make it in March?
My guess is the answer is none. All right. Because remember,
the point that I'm making.
Well, yeah.
That March money's big. But
yes.
But are you doing it to break even so that we have a March tournament? I don't get it.
Oh, I know. The sport can't afford to not have a second tournament.
Correct.
But what you're saying is the revenue you get in the end game, is it equal to or greater than the revenue you generate all year long when you're selling your tickets and televising your games? Right.
And all of the other, in the suites and all of the people and the donations that are going to go away if you don't have fans.
Miller and Moulton. Jay Paterno to join us coming up at the top of the hour. He's a trustee at Penn State. Penn State's AD made some news yesterday when she said, I don't even know if a vote was taken, to be honest with you. I haven't really had it explained to me as to how this all went down.
That's the second person that's uttered that same phrase on whether a vote even happened in the Big Ten.
So Jay Paterno to join us at the top of the hour. Pat Kirwan 1 hour from now. When we come back, since we had Bill King an hour ago, we will have the starting 5, if for no other reason, because Mark has a sponsor for it.
There you have it. The starting 5, Giro. You asked. David answered. It's next. Miller and Moulton. Fox Sports Radio streaming at millerandmoulton.com, and you are looking live on twitch.tv. All right, let's see.
Kyle Lowry's taking a lot of heat because he doesn't deliver in the clutch. It's like, oh no, Kyle's a really good 3. So with the Lakers, it's Kyle Kuzma. He's having his worst year, 12.5 a game, 30% from 3-point land. So when you start looking at the Lakers, there's just no wiggle room. So I just don't think this Laker team's a championship team.
Colin Cowherd, weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe Cooling tip of the day. We're not the best AC contractor because we say so. Kobe Cooling has been voted the best air conditioning contractor here in Southwest Florida year after year in the News Press poll. We don't have cheap service calls that end in expensive sales calls, and we don't use jack-of-all-trade technicians. Our team members are not there to fix your plumbing, and they're not going to cut your grass. Our NATE certified mechanics are there to service your air conditioning needs, and they are the best in the business. Kobe Cooling is not just
All right, let's see
best
here.
air conditioning company in Southwest Florida. We're living up to your expectations too. Kobe, the most trusted name in this business since 1949, and voted best air conditioning contractor year after year in the News Press poll. We're the best because you say so, not because we do. Call us at 239-482-1542. License CACO 57313.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the pool doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. LED color changing pool lights can create an after-dark backyard oasis. Pick your color or select one of the light shows. You can see how dramatic it really is on our website. We're a family.
Spitz, I don't think the Pac-12 is a one-bid league, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, Heckle Hyde, we talked about that in the first hour, and we talked about it when we had Bill King on an hour ago about North Carolina being the first major university to do what we think is going to become the norm here in the next 2 to 4 weeks.
So the Daily Tar Heel is the school paper at North Carolina.
Yep. Uh-huh.
The editorial.
Yep. Yep.
The editorial. We all saw this coming. Underneath, this is printed. Clusterfuck.
Correct.
Noun, a complex and utterly disordered and mismanaged situation.
Yep.
In print.
Yep.
Cluster blank. And blank was not there. Like, I'm scared to even say that during a break on air.
Here's how great. I saw a tweet. Somebody took a snapshot of it, sent it out, and at the bottom of it said, "Give them the Pulitzer right now."
Yes. I got a good sponsor for you, David. I changed it up on you.
Yep. Spitz, I'm telling you, this is going to happen everywhere. The bait and switch. Yep. They're going to get you in. They're going to get your money. And then they're going to go, man, this COVID, we can't handle it. You guys need to go home. Oh, yeah. Yep.
When it threatens our nation and our communities, we respond. We bring the fight to the front line. The Army National Guard stands ready to face the dangers of Mother Nature and protect our homes and our neighbors. We will always be there when your community needs us the most. Discover more about all the ways you can serve part-time in your community by visiting nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the Florida Army National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Looking for a frameless shower door?
So what's harder, working for Beasley Broadcasting or Ellen DeGeneres?
Both.
Wow. Wow.
From the top rope.
My goodness.
Giro from the top rope.
Damn.
Oh, that's funny. God, that's funny. Well played.
You're live.
"27 minutes before the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, but heck, that's just the beginning. We're streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. Sign up for both. They're free. All right? I mean, it's a hot steaming deal. If you're an Amazon Prime customer, you get a free Twitch channel. And with that subscription, you don't even get the commercials. So it's even better. And it's worth signing up for just for the commercial breaks. I mean, Giro with maybe, how long have we been on Twitch now? Since November of last year? I think Giro with the line so far of our Twitch existence.
One word. One word. He came off the top rope with one word during a break and owned the entire commercial break.
Right.
When they had the movie Entourage, the brother won his Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor and only had apparently what the whole premise was, he had 1 minute of time in the whole film, but it was so dramatic that he won Best Supporting Actor. That was Giro right there.
Boom.
That was best supporting actor, just came in with one line and just blew it away. Blew it away. But without any further ado, it is now time for starting five, Gerald. Starting five.
We set you up. We made you look so good.
We really did. And I don't know if we can find it. So, David, it's time now for the starting five. Without sound.
Brought to you by
the Swamp Buggy Lounge. Sunken Bar, Sunken Dreams. The Swamp Buggy Lounge.
Oh, my goodness. NBA playoffs got underway yesterday. They began at 1:30 in the afternoon yesterday. Clippers beat the Mavs 118-110. Luka with 42 in his playoff debut. He also had 9 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, just, and he got hurt even during the game. But the game turned when Porzingis got ejected early in the third quarter. Controversial ejection at that. Celtics beat the Sixers 109-101. Afterwards, Embiid saying, I have to do more. Mark, what I noticed, because I saw the final 3 minutes of that game, is he only touched the ball once in the final 3 minutes of what was a 1 or 2 possession game basically the whole time. I mean, that's either inability to get the ball to him or just they're not going to him in the clutch. I found that interesting. Toronto destroyed Brooklyn, which we expected, 134-110. Denver and Utah, we said it yesterday, it's going to be a terrific series. Don't know how many of you are going to care, but it's going to be a terrific series. Utah with Donovan Mitchell is a tough out, even without Mike Conley. Denver needed overtime to overcome Mitchell's 57 points. Nuggets 135, Jazz 125. Lightning have a 3-1 lead on Columbus thanks to a 2-1 win yesterday. Bruins scored 4 in the third period. 4. Overcame a 2-0 deficit to beat Carolina 4-3. They now lead that series 3-1. Colorado annihilated Arizona 7-1. They lead the Coyotes 3-1. And give it up to the St. Louis Blues, getting up off the deck and winning 2 in a row. Turn to their backup goalie to win them both. They beat Vancouver 3-1 to even that series at 2 games apiece. Baseball, Mark, I have a scenario for you which you're going to love because it deals with unwritten rules. First, Marlins have lost 3 in a row. 11-4, the Mets beat them yesterday. Fell out of first place for the first time all year. The Yankees swept the 4-game series from the Red Sox 6-3. You know what? Boston may finish last in the East. I mean, between the injuries and players they've lost.
They're terrible.
They're not good at all.
No, they're terrible.
They're pitching.
I watched a little bit of that Rays game when they scored 17, and I turned it on at 10-5. And they can't get outs.
Yankees beat them 6-3. The Yankees are 16-6 on the season. Cardinals and Cubs split a doubleheader yesterday. You know what? People are falling in love with the minor league 7-inning doubleheaders. They are. People are loving it. They are loving it, and the Cardinals are going to be playing a lot of them because they have to play 50 games in 40 days. That's right. The Cubs are 14-7, while the Cards are 5-5.
And here's the problem: as long as they stay at or around 500,
they got to play.
They got to play these games.
They can make the playoffs.
Because
exactly.
47 teams are making the playoffs. Yes.
Braves moved into first. You know, Mark, our Atlanta Braves, thanks to their closer, Mark Melanson, 7-6 over the Nats. Twins are 15-8 on the season with a 4-1 win over the Royals. Interesting game in Los Angeles, Mark. Dodgers beat the Mariners 11-9, but the Seager brothers homered. Corey for the Dodgers, Kyle for the Mariners. First-time brothers on opposing teams have homered in the same Major League game in 19 years. Corey homered at the bottom of the second. His brother is at third. And Corey said as he was getting to third, he just kind of looked at his brother out of the corner of his eye and smiled at him. And so Kyle, in the top of the third, homers. And as he rounds second, Corey, who's a shortstop, he looks at Corey and smiles. But here is the factoid from yesterday, Mark. Padres Rangers. It's 10-3 top of the 8th. Bases are loaded for the Padres. 3-0 count at the plate. The manager of the Padres gives Fernando Tatis Jr. the take sign. He misses it. He swings at the 3-0 pitch, up 7 in the 8th with the bases loaded and destroys it for a salami to put them up 14-3. And Mark, that's when the unwritten rules come into play because the Rangers were not happy. Swinging at a 3-0 pitch, hitting a salami up 7 in the 8th.
You know what, David? My hatred of the baseball unwritten rules are amplified on this because look at the runs that are scored in this game. Look at the runs that are being scored in baseball. We are hitting more home runs than ever before. There is no such thing as a safe lead in this sport anymore. I'm sorry. Screw you and your unwritten rules. Throw better pitches, get more outs. I'm sorry. I hope he swings at every 3-0 pitch in a blowout game and takes every 1 yard.
The manager said, so I congratulate him on hitting the home run. And Tatis, by the way, who's a budding star. He is. He's just turned 21 years old, and he's right now, honestly, if you said in Major League Baseball, you could start your franchise with any player today, though. Mike Trout's 29. Some GMs might pick Trout, even though he's 29. But if you said to GMs in baseball right now, you could pick anybody to be your cornerstone player beginning today, I think Fernando Tatis Jr. would get the most votes.
Yeah, so the manager tells him, good job, but you're not supposed to do that.
Just
Screw
said
you.
no.
Screw you and your unwritten rules.
He didn't, suspend him or fine him or anything. He just said,
oh, really? You didn't fine him or suspend him for hitting a grand slam home run? Well, that's awfully. That's noble of the man.
Well, you're coming down really hard on the Padres manager here. Okay. I thought you'd have your angst towards the Rangers for getting all upset with them. The manager just said, I gave you the take sign. Okay. And Tatis looked at him and go, oh man, I always have the green light. I'm 3-0. And that's when he said, yeah, but we're up 7 and the bases, and so Tatis goes, oh, I'll look down at third next time. But I thought you would like that story, Mark. The unwritten rules coming into effect in the 8th inning last night. Gerald Mccoy ruptured his right quad. Mark, I got to be honest with you. That sounds painful. Rupture your right quad in the first workouts that the Cowboys were having. He had just signed a 3-year, $18 million deal with the Cowboys this offseason. He, needless to say, is not going to play this year. And the SEC schedule was released yesterday. October 17th, a big day. Georgia, Alabama, Florida, LSU both played on that day. Florida, Georgia moved back a week. It was going to be on Halloween. It will now take place on November 7th. What is interesting about that is the Jaguars play at home the very next day. Usually, they send Jacksonville to London the week that Florida, Georgia is happening. I think it gives us a clue, Mark, that there's probably not going to be a whole lot of fans at either one of those two games. Florida, Georgia on November 7th, and then the Jags game on November 8th. LSU, Alabama's the following week. It was moved back a week to November 14th. And for the first time since 2001, when Florida, Tennessee got rescheduled because of the attacks on September 11th, the Gators will end their season against the Vols, and it'll be in Knoxville on December 5th. SEC keeping the Saturday of December 12th open in case they need to make up any games, with their conference championship game now slated for December 19th. My birthday. I'll turn 55 in Atlanta.
Oh, look at there.
And the question will be,
at least you hope so.
Well, that's true. I'm hoping to make it.
Well, no, I don't mean that. You're hoping that you're celebrating your birthday in Atlanta. I'm not worried about you celebrating your birthday.
Oh, you know what? That should probably be our poll question. What's more likely to happen? Moulton die before the 19th of December, or the football season make it until the 19th of December?
Jesus, David. All I was really going for, will David Moulton celebrate his birthday in Florida or Atlanta? I did not throw death on there. I was never even suggesting that.
Hey, Mark, cancer's 0 for 1, but now COVID's going to take its shot, baby. I'm going to 40 NFL games. I'm getting on like 70 flights.
You
Trust
know,
me.
you and I both love the circus, the political show. The one the guy that's the political mark there, whatever, that wears
With
the hat.
the Texan, right?
He flew for the first time on the episode. He flew from Denver to Iowa for a rally. He not only had a mask, like he had his regular mask for being out in public. When he got on the plane, he had the super duper mask and wore full on goggles over his eyes.
If I
want to take a still of that, and because that's how I want to see you on a plane.
If
I want goggles over your eyes and the full mask.
If I showed you the supplies that are behind me, I've got hand sanitizers, wipes. I've got 2 different kinds of masks. I got the hospital masks because my mom's a nurse, so she was able to call in a chip or 2.
I think you need covering over the eyes.
Oh, I'm getting the face shield. Don't kid yourself. I'm getting the face shield. I'm going to have the mask on and the face shield. Oh yeah, absolutely. Where's the hazmat suit? I mean, I might as well go all the way.
We really need more pictures and videos of you this year. I'm going to show you how to use the Miller and Moulton Instagram page. I don't know if you're aware we have one.
What? We have an Instagram page.
All I really do is put food and booze pictures up there, David. I cook a meal, I might put it up there. I have a bottle of wine, I might put a nice bottle of wine up there. That's really all I've used it for so far.
I was gonna say,
but I don't use my own name on it. I put Miller and Moulton on it. And people figure out very quickly that you have nothing to do with it. This obviously is no Moulton. See, no. Not even aware we have this page.
Right. I just, whatever. I don't know why we need it. Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when, coming up, Jay Paterno at the top of the hour. He's a trustee at Penn State. We'll ask him, among other things, what in the heck is going on in the Big Ten? What have you been able to find out? And Pat Kirwan will join us in about 45 minutes. We'll talk NFL with Pat as well. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us on this Tuesday, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Drive home with the Doug Gottlieb Show.
Johnny Mac, I'm a little too old, I think, to have team logos, although I was willing to wear, Mark, what do you say? We missed the boat. We talked about getting it. We should have got Miller and Moulton masks.
I can probably get some made. You want a Miller and Moulton mask? I'll get you a Miller and Moulton mask. I'll get you a toe. Joel Embiid took 4 shots in the fourth quarter.
He earned his way to the line with like 2:20 something to go.
I'm looking at a shot chart. And also the guy from the big league tweets, anyone know what Jack Morris was talking about when he said he didn't want to be politically incorrect before saying Tim Anderson let a ball play him? And apparently a few innings later, he joked about how disappointed he was that none of the cardboard cutouts stood for the national anthem. He's an ornery cuss. I met him. He is an ornery cuss. I met him when I was a kid, like 16. He came to our high school and he signed like an autograph thing, and he was an ornery cuss then.
He's a lot. So was he still a player when you saw him when?
He was still would have been 80. Yeah, he was still a player. I saw him in 85, 86, somewhere in there.
He is a lot different post player. Okay, but yeah, when he was a player, he was always a little ornery towards the media and even to fans.
That's what I mean. This was a fan thing. Like our school brought him in to raise money for an autograph session, and he was
ornery.
He was a prick. And I mean, I'm 16, 17. I love Jack Morris. I went and I brought one of my Jack Morris baseball cards I had to get signed, and he was a prick. There's just no two ways about it. It's okay.
I will say.
I was one of the first big athletes. In fact, I think it's probably the first big-time athlete I'd ever met. Never met Gibby, Miller and Moulton fan, but I would imagine Gibby was the same way. Gibby was an ornery cuss.
If you think about it, on those Tigers teams, I mean, you had Morris, you had Gibson, you had Whitaker and Trammell. I mean, you guys had, you had people you could gravitate to.
Lance Parrish.
Okay, yeah.
Lance Parrish
went to the Phillies, yeah.
In the game at that time. You had Gary Carter, Lance Parrish. I mean, he was right there. He was an all-star. I played catcher, so I loved Lance Parrish. You had Chet Lemon in center. I mean, they were strong up the middle.
Well, yes,
much like the Methodists.
Right. Very strong up the middle. Play good defense, strong up the middle. Right. But, when you think about it, and the Tigers only won twice. 84, 87.
Right.
But they had good players. almost won in 81, the second half. You lost out late to the Brewers.
Chris Woodward, by the way, is the Rangers manager, in case anybody was wondering. Said, I didn't like it personally. You're up by 7 in the 8th inning. It's typically not a good time, 3-0. It's kind of the way we were all raised in the game, but the norms are being challenged. Go F off. I hate baseball. I hate their stupid unwritten rules. I will say that article fascinated me, though, about them trying to combine the minor leagues and own all of it, because it makes a tremendous amount of sense for the long-term gaining fans.
Well, the other thing is, quite frankly, they should have, they got killed with
They won the division in 87 spits, is what he means.
Yeah.
No, we're not talking about World Series. He's talking about the division. They lost to the Twins.
Right, but they won. They made the playoffs.
Right.
They contended in 81 and made the playoffs in 84 and 87. But, you would have thought that Major League Baseball would have tried to get the word out more often, in which, well, hey, some of these cities, they may no longer be an official minor league, but we're not abandoning these cities.
Well, and
we're still going to do something in them.
I loved, first off, moving the draft down and not having all these kids that think about leaving. And then, the Penn League, then you go to the Cod League.
That hit me right where I lived. I covered the NIPEN for
But
7 years.
That?
Yeah,
I suppose where sophomores are going to go to the Penn League, then juniors go to the Cape Cod League, and then you go to whatever the other one. I mean, but they're going to, they're making them amateur leagues now. This is set.
Yes.
I thought that was.
Well, because also in the NIPEN, quite frankly, those are the type of players you would see. So the fact that they're called something different now.
This is Miller and Moulton. You're live.
Nine minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Streaming millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live, Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, and simulcast on the Landry Football Network, a 24/7 Twitch TV channel. Check it out at Landry Football Channel on Twitch.tv if you are so inclined.
Let's hope the hotkeys are working now. Time now for
Today was the day when, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office. Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about. This is Today Was the Day When. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Mark, who's it brought to you by?
By the Witch's Brew. If you're looking for wife number 2, find a widow at the Witch's Brew. Elvis Presley today in 56 had both Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel on the charts. They both would reach number 1. I'd say that's all right. Floyd Patterson in 58, TKO's Roy Harris for the title. Hank Aaron lost a home run today. He should have one more, David, because he hit it out of the batter's box. Went yard, didn't get credit for it.
Wow, that's unusual because Hammer and Hank hardly ever stepped out of the box. Once he got in it, if it would foul a ball off, wouldn't leave the box.
Woodstock closed today in 1969 with this guy named Hendrix playing. And ironically, most everybody had left. That whole, that was the last day. Not a lot of people saw the Hendrix anthem, if you will, compared to the crowds that were there for the entire event. Pete Rose set a record with his almost 14,000 plate appearance. That's the one thing about Pete. There were a lot of at-bats there, David.
Oh,
to get to those hits.
I mean, think about it. 4,200 and 60-something hits. Never mind how many walks he had. I mean, he had to have like 1,500 walks.
Right.
He was on base about 6,000 times in his career.
2002 at Hazeltine, Rich Beam wins the PGA. One up on Tiger.
Tiger birdied the last 4 holes to post a score, and Beam had to par in last few holes to beat him.
If you were born today, you share your birthday with Roberto Clemente, born today in 1934. Robert Redford, born today in 1936. Martin Mull was born today in 1943. That's a funny man that just disappeared. He came on Carson once, and talked about getting a tan and that you don't need to tan because I wear a suit all the time. And he literally must have either been painted or gone out in his suit because his tan line ended at his wrists, around his neck where his tie was. And just one of those shows, one of those Carson's, because Carson couldn't stop laughing. You know, when you'd get Johnny and he just giggled through the whole interview. And that was one of those I always remember. The late Patrick Swayze, born today in 1952. And David's, one of his favorite shows, Dennis Leary from Rescue Me, born today in 1957. That is Today Was the Day When, brought to you by the Witch's Brew in Naples. If you're looking for a rich widow, look no further than the Witch's Brew.
So Robert Redford's 84. You know, there are just certain people in which you just
still better looking than all of us.
Well, yes, you just don't think of them aging. I understand. Obviously, he's older, but you know what I mean.
Oh,
I mean, it's like every time you do Denzel's birthday, I'm like, it just doesn't age.
Well, I wonder, maybe though, I'm getting a little upset with unoriginal movies. And I know some of these remakes are great. I've not yet watched The Star Is Born. I know it's supposed to be incredible, but I just saw that they're remaking Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Kevin Hart and Will Smith. What's wrong with the first one? No, I'm serious. Have we lack that much creativity that we just need to remake every movie? I don't know if you ever saw the movie Papillon. It's a great film. Steve McQueen, Dustin Hoffman. They redid it. I happen to be flipping channels. I'm like, Papillon's on. And it's these two. How do you replace Steve McQueen and Dustin Hoffman and think that your new movie is going to be better than the old one?
They don't, but they think it could be more profitable. That's all. Mark, there's not a lot of new ideas in anything except technology. Otherwise, I mean, politics.
1 minute.
You know, part of the reason why our president's our president. Okay, he went about things differently. Everybody else he was running against ran a standard campaign. I mean, there's not a lot of fresh ideas out there or new approaches. That's why when we get them in sports, you know, whether it was, you know, Joe Madden looking at things differently, Mike Leach, you know, people like that, some of us are gravitated to them. It's like,
maybe you're right. The 7-inning doubleheader. Everybody's excited about it. Why? It's something different.
Well, it is at the major league level. Those of us in small and mid-sized towns across the country have been going, nice of you to catch on. We've been enjoying this for 50 years.
First off, you know it'll never happen, though, because if you make them 7 innings, you lose several commercial breaks in between innings. And that is what's making the sport thrive, is the television deals. And losing 3 minutes of commercials isn't worth it for the major leagues. Jay Paterno, next. Miller and Moulton.
You know why it has a chance, though? And I agree with you. I mean, you're losing, 8 minutes of commercials.
Yes.
But you're only losing 2 innings of beer sales. Okay, if at all.
You're not losing
any beer sales. You're not losing any concessions.
Since you're not losing any because you throw them down after the 7th inning. You're right.
Right.
Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. You can drive payment-free for 3 months, interest-free for 6 years, and worry-free up to 100,000 miles. And our parts service and body shop are open to serve you. Summer clearance event featuring Ram Bighorn Crew Cabs for $319 per month at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 42-month lease, 10,000 miles per year, $32.94 due at signing plus tax title, 0 security deposit, $13.88 per month per 1,000 borrowed for 72 months at 0% APR with 0 down with lender approval, offers don't combine.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You ace vehicle history searches and test drives. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council. When you went car shopping, you meant business. You ace vehicle history searches and test drives. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 94.1 Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox Sports. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com.
Jay, good morning. Good. Mark Miller here. Thanks for coming on with David and I. We're going on here in, well, about 40 seconds. David will go first. I will go second. And again, Jay, really appreciate your time this morning. Okay.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
I drove, which made me happier. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
And Moulton.
Look at you. I'm the man of the house.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
And as we approach a couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We're Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, and simulcasting these days on the Landry Football Network. Jay Paterno is kind enough to join us, a Penn State trustee, author of Hot Seat, A Year Inside College Football's Pressure Cooker. Jay, is that book out already, or is it coming out on Amazon?
It's on Amazon, and it's on, I got a website as well, jayvpaterno.com. So it's out on Amazon now already. Just went live this week.
Hot Seat, A Year Inside College Football's Pressure Cooker. You can also follow Jay on Twitter at Jay Paterno.
Jay, we've kind of asked this of everybody, and I think we know why, but what was the reason for writing the book? And more importantly, Jay, what did you get out of it from a therapeutic standpoint?
Well, for years, I coached for 20 years. So, I was on the road recruiting in 25, 26 different states. So I saw a lot of stuff. From towns like Philadelphia, Mississippi to Seattle, you name it. I was in most of them. And I would sit around sometimes and people would say, what is it really like? And I'd tell them these recruiting stories and they'd say, holy, that's not real. I say, oh yeah, it is real. So I started putting these things down. Someone said, you ought to write a book. I said, well, I can't write it actually using everyone's names because I'll be in court for the rest of my life. So I said, this would make a really interesting novel. And then I projected it onto just the entire pressures that go into what it's like when a coach finds out, you've got 1 year to win or else. Because we really faced that in 2004 when I was still coaching at Penn State. When Joe, my dad Joe had said to the administration, we don't win this year, I'm done. I'll walk away. And we ended up in 2005 going 11-1 and win the Big Ten. So it's been a lot of fun to write, and hopefully it's very entertaining. I think it's going to give people a real insight into what college football is like behind the curtain.
Jay, when I saw the title, Hot Seat, I thought you were going to go a year inside Kevin Warren's introduction as Big Ten commissioner. All right.
Jim Delaney picked a good time to retire.
All right. Put your trustee hat on for us if you can.
Yeah.
First off, were you guys told anything about anything that's gone down here in the decision-making process. What is it that you know, and were you made aware of it as it was unfolding?
Well, we had a call. Our president, to his credit, has been really, really good about this entire COVID-19 thing. So normally trustees, we meet 5-6 times a year. We've been called on phone every week, every step of the way. So Dr. Vern's done a great job. But, we had a long conversation, may have been last Sunday or Monday, whatever it was. And he started to fill us into what the thinking was. And, the myocarditis with the heart issues is a real issue. I mean, it's really an issue. But also, what I think everybody doesn't realize is, because we're all football fans, and I want to see football this fall and everything, we as a university also have to make sure that we keep the other 49,000 students on our University Park campus, keep them safe. And flying guys to Iowa or wherever and bringing them back and having guys come in, they're not in a bubble. So there's some responsibilities that the university has to everyone, not just football. And like I said, Saturday afternoons are going to really stink. But hopefully in the long term, we get to play some in the spring, get to play next fall. And you know what? 2021 could be great with 2 football seasons.
Jay, you obviously remember athletic dorms. When this all started, I thought that was the solution. We can bubble these kids, except for the weeks that they travel. We can put them in a dorm. We can have online classes for the football players. And we're going to treat them very differently this year, because I don't know, that $50 million check from the Big Ten Network seems to be important to these schools. Was bringing back athletic dorms, even though I know it might even been illegal, I think they were deemed illegal at one point, was that ever discussed at Penn State?
That I don't know. But I mean, most of our guys live in apartments, so they're kind of in their own apartments. But the problem is you can put them in an athletic dorm, but unless you've got guards, they're going to go do stuff they're not supposed to. I mean, you look at the University of North Carolina. I mean, they've been back, 3 days, and they're already shut down because kids are going to go to parties and kids are going to do what they want to do. And even you look at the NFL, the running back from Seattle, try to bring a woman into the hotel, and they cut them. I mean, I don't blame them. I mean, I was young once too, and I made some decisions that were questionable. As we all did. So, yeah, I think that, there's been some discussion about that. But, again, they got to go to class, and they're going to have to interact with other people. And that's the difficult part is where you do that. And, the presidents of these universities, people talk about the $50 million in TV money. If we had to send kids home, meaning, shut down like we did last spring, that could be $300 to $400 to $500 million in cost to the university. And, it's one of those things you got to look at what the fixed cost is versus the potential risk. And, there's a whole lot of factors in it, but that's some of it.
He's Jay Paterno, author of Hot Seat, A Year Inside College Football's Pressure Cooker. He's also a Penn State trustee member. You can follow him on Twitter at Jay Paterno. Jay, it sounds like you're very comfortable in the decision that Penn State and the Big Ten have made.
Well, you got to make yourself comfortable because the decision's made, so you don't really have a big choice. But no, I think the reality is we are in unprecedented times. And I think the SEC's approach, with opening the season later, would have been something possible. But the question is, are they going to go through what University of North Carolina is going through right now, the outbreak, and then they turn around and have to pull the plug as well? So, I mean, I hope they don't. It was suggested to me the other day that, well, boy, if the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12 go forward and don't have problems and they pull it off, you're going to look really bad. And don't you want them to fail? I said, no, I don't want them to fail, because they fail. That means people got sick and had issues. No, I hope it works. Because at least give me some football to look at. And then, 3 months from now, 4 months from now, we'll have more football to look at. And then 4 months, it could be like a football fiesta. So, I mean, may end up working out great for everybody.
Jay, it's come out here in the last 24 hours that the athletic director at Penn State said, I'm not even sure a vote happened. Did a vote happen? And why are those and she's not the first to say that. It's been said a couple of times. So how certain are we that this vote actually happened?
Well, I was not in the room when the presidents met, so I can't tell you for sure one way or the other. It's been my impression that there was, but again, like I said, I wasn't in the room, so I don't want to get into where I'm contradicting anybody or whatever, because I guess, I would have loved them in the room because I would have expressed some opinions, but they didn't invite me particularly.
Jay, being an athlete and a coach, this is the part that Mark and I have struggled with, is when you're a competitor, you want to try, even if you're told, listen, there's no way we can win this game. All right, you go, well, come on, the odds may be long, but there's always a way. Stanford was a 40-point underdog to USC back in the day, and they won. You can figure out a way. Does the sports guy in you, did you ever say, or, out loud, can we at least try this? I'd rather fail trying than pull the plug not trying.
Oh, there's no question. And I think to the credit of, the people in the Big Ten, they tried. Greg Schiano just yesterday or 2 days ago said they have 30 cases on their team right now, or had 30 test positives. So, people have tried. I think the other aspect of this, because, the parents now are starting to weigh in and saying, we'll sign a waiver and that kind of thing, because they know the risk. The difference with this right now is the risks are not just to the football players. If a football player plays and they get a concussion or they get a knee injury, those aren't contagious. If a Penn State player plays against a guy from Ohio State or Michigan, whatever, and they catch it, then they go to class on Monday not knowing they have it. They could give it to 8 people. So there is another level of this that's different than anything we've seen before. It's a really, really difficult decision. I know the Big Ten, number of people said they took the easy way out. The easy way out would have been let's play and collect the money. This is a very difficult decision. Again, everybody's got a little different take on it. And, I would love to see them try it. I think most of the schools have tried, but there's been some serious outbreaks in the Big Ten.
There have been outbreaks everywhere, and they've also been controlled. Jay, I'm sorry, when I heard that, I get your point. But what you kind of just said there, Jay, was a guy can get concussed. We don't care. But damn it, don't contage one of my students, so we have to close school. That's kind of how that came out, Jay.
What I was trying to say there is the parents, a number of the parents said, we know the risks, and we're willing to take it. We'll sign a waiver or whatever. But when they say there's a risk of a concussion, when they're saying that's a risk we take, they're only really involving their own son in that decision. Whereas if their son gets COVID, they're now potentially involving other students unknowingly, is what I'm getting at. And I'm not saying concussions are okay, believe me. I had a player I coached who got a concussion, was cleared. The doctor said, we'd like to hold him out one more week. And I said, okay. And then obviously the player was not happy about it. I said, look, I'm going to defer to the doctor on this. And I said, this is your brain. So we're not going to mess with it. And it's the same thing with this, with the myocarditis. There are already a number of confirmed cases of people who have myocarditis. Now you're talking about the heart, and that's a 6-month to a year sit down right off the bat because they could die from exertion. And again, I'm learning way too much about medical stuff in the last 6 months than I ever wanted to know.
He's Jay Paterno, author of Hot Seat, A Year Inside College Football's Pressure Cooker. It is available now through Amazon, among other places. He's a Penn State trustee. Follow Jay on Twitter at Jay Paterno. Is spring football realistic? Is it doable?
Oh, I think it's realistic and doable. The question, hopefully by then we can have fans in the stands because I think they'll want to come back. We were going to play without fans this year, which would have been really weird. I can't even watch, as much as I love baseball, I can't watch it without fans in the stands. And you can put all the cardboard cutouts you want, but I think it's, it just doesn't feel the same. But I think it's realistic. I think it's doable. The question is the timing. And then the other question is, how do you keep that from really running up against your fall season? Coach Brom at Purdue really has put out a pretty nice schedule, and I've read over briefly, but the timing that he's put together, if they play these games and then they take this time off and then they go back and play in the fall, he's clearly put a lot of work into that and a lot lot of thought. I think it's a pretty good starting point for everyone to discuss this. And if the Big Ten plays in the spring and the Pac-12 plays in the spring, and the SEC and the ACC or the Big 12 are done in the fall, then the Big Ten, we got there'll be another argument as to who the true national champion is and who plays. So there's going to be a lot of issues with it. But I mean, it would be there's worse things in the world than having spring football.
Jay, thanks for making time for us. We appreciate it. Best of luck with Hot Seat, a year inside college football's pressure cooker. We know these things take a lot of time and usually don't make a ton of money. So we're always impressed with those that want to be authors of books. So, Jay, best of luck with it, and hopefully we can talk again.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys having me on. Take care.
Jay Paterno, a Penn State trustee. Follow him on Twitter at Jay Paterno. Mark, we did have this comment in our Twitch chat room from Dandy Coins, who said it's not about trying, it's about trying to do right. And you and I are big on, we thought that they should have gone forward further before pulling the plug, that they ultimately, this may be the right decision. All right. And then they'll look kind of the way the Ivy League did and the NBA did in the second week of March, when most everyone else was going, you sure we can't try to go a little further with this thing? I'm curious how many people listening actually agree with Jay.
And I would love them to reach out to me via the Twitch chat line or the Williamson Brothers Marine text and talk line, because the text I'm getting were very angry towards him. They didn't buy what he was selling.
Okay. And I know it's why I asked the question. You seem genuinely, that, hey, you sat back, you're a football guy, and you've been sitting back here in these meetings. And I was impressed in which he said, hey, normally we meet every 2 months, and we were meeting every week. And it sounds like they won him over. And listen, he's not always been a company guy, obviously. I mean, him and his family have been at odds with Penn State in the last 10 years. I mean, he loves the place, but they haven't always been on the same page. And he is a straight shooter. So I was actually a little surprised that he was as on board as a football guy as he was and is. So, like Arch in our Twitch chat room says, he's keeping up the solid front. Well, actually, it's one of the reasons why we booked him. First off, we don't know who the other trustees are, but we know Jay's track record. If Jay disagrees, Jay will say it.
And look I thought the best answer he gave in regards to that, and I didn't want to get into the bait and switch thing that you've been talking about, because it smelled like it throughout. Because we got to get the kids on campus, $400 to $500 million, not the $50 million. The big money is getting these kids on campus.
We've talked about that from the beginning. We think the financial structure of our university system is teetering with this. Teetering. That, like the University of North Carolina, they're sending everybody home. They're going to go online. Well, okay. But the University of North Carolina cannot turn into Southern New Hampshire University.
And take the time today to find the Daily Tar Heel, because you all know what comes after cluster.
Four letters.
Ends in K.
Right.
And they print it. Begins with F, ends in K, and they printed it in a school newspaper. The word with the definition in an editorial. Let me just give you a line, because I've been kind of perusing this during the breaks when I can. There is one line. This is an opinion piece in the North Carolina school paper, obviously written by a student. The administration continues to prove that they have no shame, and the bar for basic decency keeps getting lower. Holy blank.
Holy cluster blank. But yes, to reiterate, the word is spelled out in a headline on the editorial page of the school newspaper. That's right, 11 letters. The 8th one is an F, and the 11th one is a K, and there are no asterisks.
None.
Right.
None.
in the headline. Saw a very funny tweet yesterday. A journalist took a picture of it, tweeted it out, and at the bottom said, "Give them the Pulitzer now."
And here, here are the things just in this. Well, they're not disclosing the number of cases on campus. Why? Because of the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And this is the real world. I'm crossing sports and real world because this is where we are right now. If you don't think high school football games, college football games, and maybe even an NFL game, although I think the NFL's got the best chance to keep on keeping on without missing games, if you will. But we're going to miss games. And North Carolina set up what's going to happen everywhere. They put 40,000 kids back on campus and told them to social distance. 18 and 19-year-olds.
Right. Many
Many of whom are leaving home for the very first time. At least 20%. Let's just say that, a lot of us are on the red shirt plan. So 1 in 5 are walking onto campus for the first time, living in a dorm room alone for the first time, and then told, while they're living next to someone in a dorm room that, by all accounts, I'm guessing North Carolina's dorm rooms are a lot like the dorms I had at Michigan State. The room I'm in now is about the same size. You cannot social distance inside of a dorm room. It's impossible. And yet they tell 30,000 kids to social distance. And then they have an outbreak, and we all act like we're surprised.
Can't believe that those 18 to 22-year-olds who have been cooped up for the large part for the last 4 or 5 months
missed their high school graduations, missed their proms, missed all of the things. And now we're going to send them to college and say, hey, put your mask on. And first off, this is a virus that you're not going to die from. The numbers show that you're going to be fine. Your parents, your grandparents, I can't tell you, but you're going to be fine. But please, social distance, don't party and wear your mask. Good luck with that. The checks all cashed at Chapel Hill, right? We got those dorm checks in?
We did.
Send them home.
Yep, there you go.
And Jay Paterno, to me, was describing the same thing going to happen at Penn State because they're far more concerned with getting their $400 million from getting kids on campus. That's what's going on right now.
And actually, they're going to try to get both. They're going to try to do the bait and switch to get their $400 to $500 million, and then they're going to try to get the football season in to get their $50 million.
Did you hear him? It's going to be a football bonanza, everybody. A bonanza. Maybe even a ponderosa.
Well, I am laughing because, it's why I asked, hey, do you think spring football is doable? And he talked about having fans. Well, the weather during spring football season in State College, Pennsylvania, I mean, don't get me wrong. All right. They're diehard fans, but you got to be pretty hardy to be sitting at Beaver Stadium there in January and February. Let me tell you. I mean, Pennsylvania winters, it'll be you and the deer in the parking lot. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan to talk all things NFL. 23 days away, by the way, from the Chiefs and the Texans, ladies and gentlemen, as the NFL season goes full steam ahead. Pat Kirwan next. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
A date which will live in infamy.
Amazing comebacks that inspired the.
This editorial is unbelievable.
I laughed my ass. I forget who it was who took the picture and said, "Give him the Pulitzer now." But yes, ladies and gentlemen, clusterfuck with a capital C, and then they define in it what it means, right?
Yes. Editorial. We all saw this coming. Underneath it, clusterfuck. Noun, a complex and utterly disorganized and mismanaged situation. When my son told me that they were going to have the directional signs like we have in grocery stores in East Carolina, he looks at me and he goes, Dad, I'll probably have it in 2 weeks. He goes, I'm sorry. He goes, at some point, I know me and I'm going to walk to one of there's going to be 6 parties going on and I'm going to try to stay in my place. And at some point, I'm going to leave. I'm like, well, wear a mask. He's actually thinking about it. and still knows that being 21 means being 21. What did I hear someone say the other day? Part of being young is making, I think it was Cowherd said it on the Bill Maher thing. Part of being young is essentially, making bad decisions and making mistakes. It's part of the birthright of being an 18-year-old.
It's just like the Western bacon cheeseburger with charbroiled beef and crispy bacon and onion rings and topped with tangy barbecue sauce. But we added spicy jalapenos and melty pepper jack cheese. We took a delicious and spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack to explain it? Because jalapenos sound like this. Try the new spicy Western bacon cheeseburger at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
I got to answer our poll question.
Or retweet it.
I have to do both.
Thanks for that.
Hey, usually I've been good. I've been good lately.
Good. You've been good.
Crispy bacon and spicy jalapenos. And if you're feeling extra wild, you can get it all wrapped up in a burrito. The Southwest omelet, biscuit, and burrito are back only at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe cooling tip of the
Hey,
day.
Fred.
There's lots of new air conditioning commercials about ductwork and addicts that are all about hot air. These commercials are sales scams and they're designed to scare people about ductwork. These people aren't experts in air conditioning. They're only experts in sales. Real experts are NATE certified mechanics, and they're experts in the entire air conditioning system.
Uh-oh. 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 Uh-oh.
Hi, this is Pat Kirwan. You've reached me on my cell phone. Please leave a phone number and a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And have a great day.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Pat, Mark Miller, David Moulton from the Miller and Moulton Show. Nice new message. Very, very upbeat. Like that you did that. If you want to give us a call back, we do this little segment with you usually on Tuesdays. Arch and or Seth. Next break, I will talk to you. We're good, Seth. Thank you. I am having a hell of a time, Seth. I almost called you last night, but it was dinner time. I'm hardwired from my modem, but when I try to go on StreamYard, which does not need a Wi-Fi connection, it won't let me, and I'm having trouble basically with the hardwire getting to websites. If either of you can offer me any help on what's set up incorrectly on my computer, I would love to fix this. Thank you.
Twitter. Follow Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio on Twitter.
Ooh.
Follow us at Fox Sports SWF.
Another crash on 29 and 82. There's a shocker.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. All right, now we're getting somewhere. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Minutes past the hour. Top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, and simulcasting these days on the Landry Football Network, a 24/7 Twitch channel. 479-5551 is how you can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line 239-479-5551.
Poll question today. You're going to go to a game. Would you go to a game? And we've talked about this a few times. It is a bit of a repeat. But whether it's Friday, whether it's Saturday, whether it's Sunday, I'm a Bucs season ticket holder. I'm trying to get my money back. It's a whole nother story because the week I was on vacation, apparently, if you didn't let them know by a certain date, you're screwed. And I'm not real happy with the Bucs. I did ask my ticket rep, by the way, if you don't give me my money back, can you let me know which member of your department wants to come on my radio show every morning and tell me why I can't have my money back?
Look at you.
Oh,
Throwing the radio show at him.
Because I'm like, really? Really? You send a letter and you give me 7 days. I happen to be in the mountains of North Carolina and I didn't answer it on time and I can't get my money back. Oh, I wasn't happy. But they're like, you don't want to go to games in 2020? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't know what games I'm going to get. I don't want to get stuck going to see the LA Chargers and the Carolina Panthers. That's not worth it to me.
Right. Right.
If you can tell me I'm going to get the Mahomes game, I'm in.
Right. If you can get me Breeze and Mahomes, I'll do it. You get me those 2 games, I'll live.
Right. But I don't know. And it's a pretty sizable investment that I want back. I'm not afraid to go to a game from a standpoint of the coronavirus. I would go. I have no issues going, but the atmosphere is what I have a problem with. I was so gung-ho when Georgia was playing Alabama. As you all know, my kid is a diehard Bulldog fan. David was nice enough last year to get me hooked up for Georgia Notre Dame. It was a great weekend for my son and I. A great weekend. And they're playing Alabama. I'm like, my buddy Gary. I can get hooked up again.
My buddy Gary.
And, when Jake and I are on vacation, we're both like, I don't even really want to go. Because part of going was 100,000 people and being in Tuscaloosa and the whole event. That was part of it. That's not there now. I'm not interested. I'd rather watch it on television.
It is a bummer, too, because I believe Georgia has not played in Tuscaloosa since 2007, I believe. I think Nick's first year, Stafford and company went in there and beat them in overtime. 2008, Alabama went back to Georgia and won the blackout game, and blew them out, actually.
Blew their doors off.
Right. Georgia was preseason number 1 or number 2 in the country, depending on the poll. And Alabama went in there and whooped them. Just flat whooped them. Up like 31-0 at the half. And I know Bama went to Georgia in 2015. But which looking back now, I think it was Mark Rick's last year. But in fact, it's the last time Alabama was an underdog in a game. They went to Georgia in 2015. They had lost like the week or 2 earlier to Ole Miss, and they were like a 1 or 2 point dog. And I think it's the last time Alabama's been an underdog in a game. But, we commented, was it last year or 2 years ago? It was 2 years ago, 2018 season. Georgia went to LSU. Georgia hadn't been to LSU in like 15 years. And the Georgia fans were thrilled, even though it was a tough game, obviously, and they ended up losing. But they were thrilled. They're like, man, we don't normally get to play these guys. Never mind to play them here. And, we're proud of In Between the Hedges, but we're thrilled to come to quote-unquote Death Valley. Now, granted, it wasn't a Saturday night game. CBS put it on at 2:30 local time, but still, the Georgia fan, they walked out and they had like that half smile on their face. They're like, sucked to lose, but God, it was great to be here.
Hey, David, that Notre Dame Georgia weekend will go down with me as one of the best times I've had. And part of it was the Notre Dame fan everywhere having fun.
Yeah.
There wasn't trash talking. It wasn't Georgia, Florida. It was, we're going to beat you. But man, hey, are you having fun? Welcome to Athens. It was a very, for lack of a better term, neat experience.
Well, and Mark, we asked Bill King in our first hour today, and if you miss any part of the show, you can download it, millerandmoulton.com. We asked the longtime voice of college football, as we like to call him, in the Southeast, in which we said, hey, they're going to try to play 10 games in conference, and if they pull it off, if you're a fan, are you going to be able to go back to 8? Because let's face it, these games are better than most of the other games that are on the schedule. Now, I believe, okay, that they will try to hold off until they expand the playoff, till 4 becomes 8, so that therefore they can afford to lose more games and still have their teams get in the playoff. But for the fan, Mark, we're talking about you trying to be a Buck season ticket holder. I mean, as a fan, colleges ask a lot of the college football fans. You usually got to put forth a bit of a PSL just to be able to buy your seats. And for the most part, you look at the schedule. I mean, it's been tough being a Gator season ticket holder. You got one good game a year, 2 if you're lucky.
if you're lucky.
And you got to pay for 7.
Not to mention, you've got to go to Jacksonville for your big rivalry game. And college football has an attendance problem.
Yes.
I mean, that's the other side of this. They have an attendance problem, and the easy fix is put more quality games on the schedule. That's the easy fix. And I'm with you. I know what Bill King's point is. What's ironic is Nick Saban's the one that wants more conference games, and he's benefited the most by not having them. No one has benefited more than Nick Saban by going 7-1 in conference play. Nobody.
Right. And he's open about it. He goes, hey, this is the system. I'm using it as best I can. And Alabama's been really good about spacing out their big games, too. They very rarely play games back-to-back in which it's a single-digit point spread. So in theory, it's a game they could realistically, they could lose this game. I mean, Bama doesn't do that. They've got a week off before they play LSU every year. They have a scrimmage basically before they play Auburn. I mean, Tennessee lately, it hasn't mattered, but they usually play like Arkansas the week before they play Tennessee. I mean,
Georgia was set up that way this year. It was originally their first SEC game for both of them. So they were playing their preseason games before the schedule was redone. So yes.
Here's something we have not discussed though. What will the Notre Dame fan think this year? And listen, Notre Dame, for those that don't like Notre Dame, they get a lot of grief for their schedule when, you know what? I think Notre Dame's schedule is pretty damn well.
It's not warranted. It really isn't. You start looking at other teams' schedules and you look at what Notre Dame has done and who they've played, the knocks they get, it's, you play Army and Navy. Yeah, you play USC and Stanford too. And now you're playing 4 ACC games every year. Their schedule has been salty the past few years. And now they're in a conference. And it's a great point, David, because one, there's a conference title. See, the independent worked for Notre Dame for the longest time because, hell, if they put up a 1-loss season, the odds are they had a shot at a national title pre-playoff. Just fact of the matter is, if they were 10-1 before we went to 12, they're 11-0, they were playing for it. If they were 10-1, they had a way to backdoor it almost every year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we've gone to conference championship games, and Notre Dame's been relevant once in the playoffs since it started. And that lasted for 14 minutes. If they convert the third down, we might have had a better game, David. But they've not played for anything in a long time. And if they're playing in a conference title game this year, how much will that mean for their fan base? I have no idea.
And I'm wondering, will their fan base and, does NBC get a vote? I mean, will these games rate a little bit better? I have a feeling they will rate better because, let's face it, there will be less football on television. I have a feeling Notre Dame ratings will be up. Also, NBC didn't get the Georgia game last year. They're getting the Clemson game this year, in theory. All right, that their ratings will be up. I mean, NBC will be in favor of Notre Dame being in a conference. I mean, think about it. NBC's best case scenario. They'd go, hey, could you guys be in the ACC and make sure you play USC and Navy every year? And you know what? If for and giggles, how about, because the ACC right now only plays 8 conference games. I mean, if NBC was drawing up Notre Dame's schedule, they'd be like, could you play 9 ACC games, join the conference, play USC, Navy, and a Big Ten team every year? And you could rotate. You could put Purdue, Michigan State. Oh, we don't care. Just USC, a Big Ten team, Navy, and play your ACC games. But what I'm wondering is, will the Notre Dame fan, with a chance to win a conference championship, with a chance to play in the conference championship, and who knows, Mark, this could be the only time in the history of Notre Dame football that this happens. I mean, it literally could. I mean, let's face it, we've gone 100 years since we've had a pandemic that was this big in this country. I mean, Notre Dame could play football for another 100 years. It's possible this is the only time they play for a conference title.
Yeah, the last one ended World War II.
And so will the fan, though, be into it? Well, they go, I got to admit, kind of liked it.
There's part of my hatred for Notre Dame that would increase if they could pull this off, and I would actually root for it, David. Because we've always said, and for those of you that are maybe getting us the first time on the Landry Football Channel, hate football, hate in sports is good.
Yes.
And I hate Notre Dame, and that's good. If Notre Dame wins the ACC and says, this was great, but we just proved all along, this is exactly why we don't need to join a conference. When we get in one, we just win it. And if they pulled that off, I would applaud it. I would hate him more, but applaud it at the same time.
And of course, the other way is, what if they play the ACC this year and go 7-3? All right, you'll have ACC fan kind of standing there, putting their hands on their hips, going, "Yeah, I understand we may not be top to bottom in the SEC, but we're not bad, are we? We're not bad, are we? We're more than just Clemson, aren't we?" And, and the ACC fan could be standing there going, wait till Miami and Florida State get their acts together. I was thinking about Miami the other day, and we haven't talked about this. First off, what do you do, Mark, if you're an AD? There are certain coaches who needed to have good years this year or they're done. And let's face it, Manny Diaz was lucky to see year 2. That's how bad year 1 went. And we're rooting for Manny. We want the Canes to do well. You and I both like the Canes. We have a soft spot. We like they could walk the walk. They talk the talk and then walk the walk. We like that. We love the Canes bravado from when they were the Canes. And in 2017, when they were back for an hour and a half, it was fun. It was cool. I'm sorry, it was. Maybe because we're a bunch of middle-aged guys and, we remember when Miami was, the talk of college football. It was cool to us. We would love for Miami to be Miami again.
Yes. Hell, David, we'd like Florida State to be Florida State again.
Right.
That's a lot more recent history. We're comfortable with just getting Florida State back to Florida State. We would love Miami to be Miami.
But there's two things here. One, Miami thinks they're pretty good and they've got a quarterback, but this is the only year they're going to have him. And I was thinking about the other day, boy, what if you're one of those coaches and it's a make or break year and either A, you don't play. Well, B, do you see the next year? And then C, wow, I kind of loaded up roster wise this year and now I'm going to lose it all. I mean, if you're Manny Diaz, you're like, well, one, this is an important year. And two, I got me a quarterback and I'm only going to have him for this year. I kind of need to play as many games as I can. This might be the best quarterback I have for the next 2 years.
Oh, I think there'll be other quarterbacks out there. I think you'll watch the transfer portal in a couple of conferences grow exponentially this offseason. If these 3 conferences pull it off, David, it's a huge if. If they pull it off, we wondered about the transfers this year, which is obviously not happening out of the Big Ten schools and the Pac-12 schools.
Not yet.
Well, it's not happening for the 2020 season. It's August 18th. They're not transferring in 2 weeks. It's not going to happen. But David, come January, when it's spring football or spring football in the SEC, spring football in the ACC, I wonder how many kids from the South that went up north to play football are going to come home.
I keep looking at Justin Fields. If you're Justin Fields, you and I have joked many times over the years, Mark, if we had a son that was a big time player, certain things we would do to keep him from playing. I've joked I would hold a press conference in which I would make stuff up I had 5 NCAA violations to have him declared ineligible. And I don't care if he ever talked to me again, I'd make sure that he's getting drafted where he's going to get drafted and he gets paid. And then, we can make it up on the back end at a family reunion or something. But what would you do if you're Justin Fields' dad? Your 3 options right now. Ride it out at Ohio State, which means either you play spring football.
No, you don't, but go ahead.
Or you don't play spring football, but you spend your final year of college in Columbus. Or C, do you got your petition, which has 250,000 signatures, and you're trying to put pressure, and you realize by the end of this week, Mark, you realize it's going nowhere. What do? Do you hang out and don't play? Because you and I think, first off, I think
you're not playing in the spring. I mean, can we just throw that? Can we just rule that out? That ain't happening.
Right. I actually,
and I don't think the NCAA, you can't transfer. There's no way the NCAA is going to grant you a transfer on August 18th.
I don't know, Mark. Mark, if you're a quarterback base, I don't know if there's a quarterback whose transfer has been denied. Now, if you're an offensive lineman, they deny your transfers. Just ask the kid at Tennessee who just had his transfer denied.
I'm just telling you, David. Okay, maybe there's a chance. I don't think it's got to be less than a 5% chance that if you tried to transfer today, you could get somewhere.
But if you stay in Columbus, your chances of playing are 0%.
David, let me ask you a question with Justin Fields. He doesn't play.
Right.
What's the worst he's going to be drafted?
Top 5.
Okay.
Worst, I guess it's possible he could fall between 6 and 10, but I would say top 5.
Yeah, and probably no worse than second. Now, the one thing that did happen is that he could have done enough this year that maybe some people would have taken him in front of Lawrence. I mean, that's a distinct possibility. They may have said his skill set's better for the NFL than Lawrence. I doubt it, but they may have. And hell, somebody took Mitchell Trubisky ahead of Patrick Mahomes. So they sure as hell could have taken Justin Fields ahead of Trevor Lawrence. It's a much smaller stretch than Mitchell Trubisky to the Bears. I think we could all agree upon that. But David, it doesn't matter. He's still a top 5 pick.
Oh, I know.
And I actually think by transferring, he could hurt his cause. Because one, he's got to learn a new offense. He's not going to be as sharp because he's not been ready. I think he hurts his chances going to play for anybody not named maybe Alabama.
Well, it's why I think if he were to transfer, there's only 2 places he can transfer. One would be Georgia, but the second would be Tennessee, because his offensive coordinator when he was at Georgia is now at Tennessee. So he literally could walk in and know the plays and the terminology and all that. But it's why I asked, though, if we're his dad, are we just saying, caught a bad break? But that Clemson game you played in the semifinals, that was your last college game.
Yeah, he's going to be in Bradenton tomorrow, if I'm his father.
Okay.
You're leaving Ohio State, and I'm going to go public to rip Ohio State if I'm his father in the Big Ten. Don't know what to tell you. We're not playing in the spring. He's draft eligible. This is generational money. I think you all understand that. So we're going to take my son. We're going to put him at IMG in Bradenton. And thanks, Big Ten. Appreciate it. Good luck with your next job, Commissioner Warren. The MAC might be hiring.
I wouldn't let him play either, but a kid really seems to want to play. I'm just saying, if he really seems to want to play and his dad is okay with him playing one more year of college ball, well, it seems to me as if your only real option is to transfer. And wouldn't that be something? Remember, Mark, SEC doesn't start till September 26th. I mean, you got time here. You can transfer now. You got 5 weeks. Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the ugly is coming up. Make sure you answer our poll question at millerandmoulton.com. Would you attend a football game this year? And this is high school, college, or pro. You know, we got a comment here in our Twitch chat room. My son has a scrimmage tonight for baseball, and I'm not sure if I will stay and watch.
I'm not sure if I will be able. Difference.
So allowed.
Yeah, he's saying I don't even know if I'm allowed to stay.
Right. So,
and there has been nothing. I've checked with a few of the people I know, and you have too. There's no plan for what they're doing with high school sports this year. None. We just know they're starting to practice on Monday. That's as far as we've gotten.
Right. Miller and Moulton. Good, bad, and ugly next. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Phil Steele just tweeted out about 10 minutes ago, David. I saw it and I retweeted it. He has on his website cut and paste ACC schedules that you can print out and tape over them on in your magazine.
Yes, I saw that yesterday.
I love it. I love it. I'm printing them out. Maddie's getting the scissors, the glue. I've got a craft project for you today, honey. We're doing arts and crafts today. You have to cut out these schedules and match them with the team and then paste them on.
We know that when he calls, something special is going on at Floormeisters. Dave, sounds like you have a lot of that very popular Cortex that everyone is looking for and wants in their home.
Yes, we do, and we've got about 6 or 7 truckloads coming to beat the tariff increase, and we're going to guarantee a freeze of the prices on all our in-stock Cortex. We're not going to go up 50 cents a square foot, and We're going to save it for our customers.
All right, let's see here what we got for.
They now have 100 colors for you to choose from, all ready to be installed.
Yes, and we stock 100 colors of Cortez.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard.
Are you back to NASCAR next year when Jimmy Johnson's gone? He is the most boring human ever.
And right now he's out of the playoff. I think they got like 3 races left, and he's 1 spot out of the playoff.
Sorry. Holy Christ. North Koreans are being told to eat their pets because of a food shortage.
And provide comfort, balance, and support. The well-being of our customers, associates, and community is our highest priority. So we've implemented new measures, procedures, and precautions, keeping your health and safety in the forefront. The Good Feet store is lending a hand to help America get back on its feet. And just as we have for a quarter century, we're helping to improve the quality of people's lives 2 feet at a time.
Is foot pain making your life miserable? Call 552-FEET or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
Are you ready to take your game and athletic training to the next level? Looking to improve your speed, posture, endurance, conditioning, and mental training for tennis or any sport? Reach your star potential at Academia Sanchez Casal, Florida, and Naples. Operated by tennis superstars. Olympic silver medalist Emilio Sanchez and Arantxa Sanchez, the former world champ with 14.
So she's no longer a Sanchez Vicaria.
Oh, I did not hear that.
Well, I mean, it's Arantxa Sanchez, so
right.
Lost to the Vicaria.
That's what that sounds like.
I used to think she was pretty darn hot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I liked her.
Yeah, I never did.
I liked her a lot, actually, back in the day.
Group or one-on-one sessions, short and long-term programs for beginners through elite professional athletes of any sport. Step up your game and enroll now. Find Stephen Davidi Hydro Athletics on Instagram or visit asc-florida.com.
Red AC is growing and needs qualified AC install technicians now.
Ooh, this is a good one.
Not a sales job. If you feel like you're the best of the best, then Brett Air Conditioning wants to talk to you. Maybe you're not in the business, but know someone who is. Please tell them about this great opportunity. Great pay, great benefits, great work environment, and even a sign-on bonus. An equal opportunity employer. So if you feel you're the best, call them today.
Oh, that's awful. Sorry, I was just getting you to open that chat thing up, David, because I can't text and we can't see each other with that thing up.
No. I know.
566-3633. Apply online or brettairconditioning.com.
I just look at the top right corner to see if the number pops up. If a number pops up on private chat, then I realize you've sent me a message.
From the best headlines, the best.
Well, the interview before you didn't. That was the only reason. That, no big deal. Don't care.
No, I got you.
And ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
For the good today, we're going to run to the border.
What?
Taco Bell.
Wait.
Taco Bell's the good.
Who's the good, bad, and ugly brought to you by?
Oh, I'm sorry. You know, David, you're right.
I mean, Mark. I mean, come on.
I didn't update it. Still brought to you by Strikers Billiards, where the 8 balls aren't just on the table. Strikers Billiards in Bonita Springs. We go to Clarksville, Tennessee for the good, where staff members at the Taco Bell noticed their drive-thru light had come to a stop where they could see and hear cars. So one of them went to see what was going on. And Jonathan Genus saw a van parked the wrong way, blocking the line with a man slumped over the driver's seat. That's when Sonia Fraser stepped up to save the driver's life. She'd worked at the Taco Bell for 14 years, was a home healthcare worker, so she knew what she was doing. They got the man on the ground, found a pulse, said it was weak, called 911, started CPR, and saved the man's life. Usually you just die from getting the food, not by being in line for the food at Taco Bell, David. No?
No.
For the bad, we go to New Zealand, where 7-year-old Samir Ansar, well, is probably feeling better because he lost a Lego piece. 2 years ago.
Okay.
Up his nose.
Ouch.
Apparently, the 5-year-old had shoved a piece of Lego up his nose a couple of years ago and couldn't find it. Doctors said that the piece they thought it would move through his son's digestive tract, but no pain, no distress. They forgot about it. Last week, the boy's nose began to hurt, and after taking a big sniff of cupcakes, he thought he sniffed up some cake crumbs. When he blew his nose, he blew out the Lego. Mystery solved, Lego piece found.
Unbelievable.
And finally, the ugly, we go to St. Louis, and this is a son of a gun. A man and a woman had a flat tire. They're on the side of the road, 11:15 at night. A car pulls up, guy gets out, offers to help. 2 men change the tire. The man, the good Samaritan says, how about a little something for the effort? Man pulled out his wallet. The good Samaritan pulled out his gun, took the wallet, took the man's phone, and took off.
Oh, goodness sakes.
And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, August the 18th. This is 2020.
Boy, is it ever. 23 days away from the NFL kicking off, though, Chiefs and Texans. 23 nights from tonight. Will there be any fans there? We don't know. That is the focus of our poll question. Some teams are going to have fans in the stands this year. Would you go to a football game in person in 2020? Right now, heavy turnout in early voting, Mark. 53% of you said you would at millerandmoulton.com or that Mark Miller or the David Moulton on Twitter. 53% are a yes. 47% are a no.
All right. Let me give you the rundown for today's sports as you sit at home on your couches, or at least I will. NBA starts at 1:30, TNT for Bucks and Magic. 3 o'clock, Flyers, Canadians. 4 o'clock, Heat, Pacers.
That's going to be a terrific series. It's going to go 7. Heat are going to win.
5:30, Stars and Flames. 6:30, Thunder and Rockets. ESPN, Rays and Yanks. That's at 7.
1 minute.
And then 8 o'clock, Caps and Islanders. Oh, yeah, 9 p.m., Lakers and Blazers. And the Knights and Blackhawks, if you want to keep things going, 10:30. God bless. There's a lot bad about 2020. Not the sports lineup in August, David.
No. For mid-August, this will work. This really will. I think that the Lakers, there'll be a bunch of close games with the Blazers, but I actually think they're going to handle Portland. Could be a really good 4-1 series, if you know what I mean.
I totally do. Totally do. Look at the NHL, it's where the first round action is. The NBA, it typically is not.
And one thing to note, the Rays and Yankees genuinely now dislike one another. The Rays have become, even the New York tabloids have said the Rays have become their biggest rival. So pay attention to this series.
Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening right here on Fox Sports Radio.
Looking for a frameless shower door? My Shower Door has just opened their 8th Florida showroom, and it's conveniently located in Cape Coral. With more than 75,000 frameless shower doors installed, no one has more experience and 5-star reviews.
You know what? You might be right, fan. I may have been thinking of Gabriella Sabatini. I may have confused the two.
Yeah.
I think that I was, because that's the one that I was into. You know what? It's a mistake on my part. There's nothing like a good old-fashioned claw and paw oh, sorry. Yeah, that's the dog thing. All right. Thanks, everybody. Well done, Seth. If you're still here, I'm going to talk to you later, try to figure this out. Adios.